Good too. Funny, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
Now, it's police band for next week.
You know what, I'm going to be in Houston for work. I hate to miss it when I get so much.
Can I represent you?
Yes,
I got it straight. They're going to give me a little less than 5 minutes at the beginning. That way I can get back to work. Mardi Gras, happy Mardi Gras. Happy Mardi
You
Gras.
done counted
Miss Scott, hello again.
We're
This
going to
guy.
be throwing beans.
When you gonna provide the city council your cell phone? You need to email it to every councilman that you're working with.
May live to regret that, Miss Scott.
I'm just hoping I don't freeze like I did yesterday. I was a popsicle by the time I got here. I couldn't even feel my feet.
I was ready.
Why weren't you? You were coming. I was showing up cold.
Ma'am, it is cold.
Oh, you got the blues? Aren't you fun? Just living a life, Sammy. I want to be like you one day.
Appreciate it.
When you say Nancy, that's trying to keep it butt in purpose. You won't lose money on that. Absolutely. Okay. Hey, Willie, look what I got. Hey, that's nice.
I'm more excited about watching Senator Warren excoriate Bloomberg again.
Would you do the invocation for me today?
Oh, a whole pack.
Would you do
It's
the
gonna be a
invocation?
serious thing.
Everybody.
Would you do the invocation?
The council lady, how sweet. They are my favorite. Jerry. That'll be nice with my cookies.
What's going on?
Okay.
Ready?
Help yourself.
Y'all ready?
That shit known me since I was about yay high. Yeah.
Listen to you.
Let me first say welcome to the Shreveport City Council. We are now being called to order. I'm going to call on Pastor Brown to give the invocation, and the chair will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Brown.
Well, shout amen, somebody.
Amen.
I'm Pastor, amen.
Amen.
Father God, we thank and praise you for this day. For this is a day that you have made, and we rejoice and be glad about it.
Yes.
We thank you, Father, for you've been good to us. And we give all the glory and praise to you, for you are God. Now, Father God, as we come forward to do this, Holy Spirit, lead us, guide us, direct us, that everything be done decently and in order.
Amen.
And we give all the praise to you, Father. And we ask this in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And we're all going to pray, let us say amen.
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 Please face the flag. Join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Bradford.
Here.
Councilwoman Fuller.
Present.
Councilman Nicholson.
Present.
Councilman Butcher.
Here.
Councilman Fleury.
Here.
Councilman Green. And Councilman Bowman.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Fuller, second by Councilman Butcher. Councilman Lady Fuller, Councilman Butcher, second. Any discussion? Then let's vote. Motion carries, 6 yeas and 1 out of chamber. Does any
Two out of the chamber.
I'm sorry, 2 out of chamber. Great. Here comes, you want to go ahead and vote? Is there, does any council member at this time have any awards recognition to distinguished guests not to exceed 15 minutes?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Rapper, you're recognized.
thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have I want to do 2 things. The first thing I want to do is present Mr. Ken Rogers, who is the Executive Director of the Northwest Louisiana Council of Governments. I asked him to come to give us a update on some of the projects that's pending within this city and parish. So I welcome Mr. Rogers.
Kent Rogers, Executive Director, Northwest Louisiana Council of Governments, 625 Texas Street, Suite 200, Shreveport, Louisiana. Thank you all. I believe y'all all have a packet that we passed out just a few minutes ago to give you an update on a couple of the high priority projects in the region, and then a couple of other of the efforts that COG is working on. The first of those is the Barksdale Gate Access Road. I know it's not literally in the city of Shreveport, although city of Shreveport paid for the property for Barksdale. The Gate Access Road is one of the first, it actually is the first project that is being completed under the state's Garvey Bond program. Through that program, the bonding efforts, because of the way the funds work, the bonding efforts do not go against the state's overall bonded indebtedness. Those funds are paid directly back from federal highway funds, and along with that, there's a $6 million contribution put up jointly between the city of Bossier City and Bossier Parish, and then $12 million through our STP program. That $12 million is spread out over a 12-year time frame to go towards the project. The other $72 million, again, comes from those Garvey bonds through the project. One thing to note, and to note for the general public, is starting Sunday, there will be some lane closures around the 220 interchange, 20 and 220 interchange near the racetrack. So they'll start some lane closures primarily in the late evening to early morning time frame to try and keep it all open during the regular time frame. Second project is the I-49 Intercity Connector. You have a couple of slides that show the 2 build alternatives that are still on the books, I guess you could say. Build alternative 1 is the build through alternative. ranging between roughly 550 million to 640 million. The build alternative 5, which is the loop option, ranges between about 832 to 850 million dollars for those two. We've had some good movement on that project over the past few years. One, the MPO, of which the mayor sits on that panel. In 2017, we passed a resolution, and I believe that the city council at that time also passed a resolution along with the parish commission, supporting Build Alternative 1 as the MPO preferred alternative through the area. That led us to move forward on some of the technical studies and technical documents for the project. Couple of things that we had to overcome. There were some 4F issues. That's one of the programs through NEPA and the EPA program, looking at basically mostly parks and recreational facilities. We had a determination made on the Swipco Park project and also with Cross Lake area. Excuse me. During the last legislative session, there was $100 million that was allocated or obligated, whatnot, towards the project through some reallocation of the BP oil spill funds. That's quite a substantial amount of money. The biggest part of the project has been what's called the cultural resource survey. Literally have to go out and do some shovel digs and whatnot on every parcel of property through the corridors. That review of that time frame and review of that document took a little over a year to get that done, just the review process of that document. All the comments for that have been resubmitted to DOTD, Federal Highways, and the SHPO office. We have a few other issues that we're addressing along with those to hopefully have those ironed out within the next month or so we can move forward trying to finalize the document, finalize the work towards the end of the project. Next one is the Interloop Extension Project. I think everybody will be happy to hear this. We have a public hearing scheduled on the environmental document for Thursday, March 19th from 4 to 7. That will be held at the LSU in the University Ballroom. The preferred alternative that's identified in there is Build Alternative B2, which leads from Florina Lucas to the future I-69 project. Current overall cost for that project, including a 20% contingency, is about $180 million. Along with that, there's a project that goes along with I-69 that we're actually working on that kind of ties in with the Interloop project, and that's a frontage road project that was part of the original SIU 15, the segment that would go from SIU 15 as a total goes from Houghton to Stonewall. It's broken up into 5 smaller segments, one of those segments being from the port to I-49. Within that, there was some frontage roads within that portion, and we're looking at completing that portion of the project. It's the Stage 0 study for that is being undertaken through the Department of Transportation through a retainer contract that they had with Neil Schaefer. It's been underway. If any of y'all have driven out near the port over the past couple of months, you probably saw a bunch of traffic counters and whatnot. Port has been doing a traffic study out there and also interviewing all their tenants to look at their future needs in the area. Next is another program that we actually administer through COG, and it's the Transportation Safety Coalition. That coalition is made up from all the emergency service providers in the area, including police, fire, EMS, 911, all the different emergency service personnel. One of the requirements under the last Federal Highway Act, excuse me, was to begin to do what they call performance-based planning. And the first step of that was with safety planning and whatnot. We have to look at how to reduce Through the Safety Coalition, it's looking at reducing incidents through distracted driving, impaired driving, and those types of things, through education and enforcement, engineering responses, and emergency responses. I have to commend City of Shreveport and the police and fire department for their participation in this process, because it has been overwhelming and very much appreciated. The next of those is the Regional Watershed Program. This is in response to the $1.2 billion that's coming down through HUD to the state of Louisiana. It's in response to the floods of, primarily the floods that took place in 2016 in our region. That was more of late 14, early 15 timeframe. There's approximately $1.2 billion in the program as a whole. Of that, a little less than $1 billion will be available for projects throughout the state, and roughly 50% of that has to go to 10 specific parishes in the state. Unfortunately, we are not one of those 10 parishes, so roughly half of that other money will be available to all the other parishes in the state. Questions?
Councilman Butcher, you're up on the board.
Yes, sir, Mr. Rogers. Thank you for this presentation. A lot of homeowners in my district are concerned about the inner loop,
Yes.
you know, where we are with that.
Yes.
And, there was some talk that, and this is probably just rumors, but would the Stonewall Friars under Robson Road, that service road, would that replace the inner loop extension?
That could help with some of the issues out there. The primary purpose of that project is to get some immediate relief for the truck traffic out of the port and over to I-49. That, in essence, that road will, it's currently listed to be a 2-lane facility. Depending on what comes out of the Stage 0 report, it may increase in that size. But the intent of that is to get some quick relief out. There's also two pieces or two purposes behind that project. One is the funding that's being used, a good majority of the funding being used for that project was some old I-69 earmark funds that we had. FHWA and the feds were talking about sweeping up all those old little pieces and parts of unused monies and taking them away. So we sat down with the state and said, can't we conglomerate these together and do something? So that's where that came into play. Plus, we've always had an issue with the portion of 69 tying into Texas. Texas's response has always been, well, Louisiana's not doing anything anyways, why would we bother? Right. This helps put a stake in the ground and put a sign on the ground and saying, yes, we are doing something.
So it is possible that, and from what I was told and from what you just said, there is a good bit of money there for this service road already to
Correct.
To at
Correct.
least get started.
We have probably half of the money identified right away. The remainder of that will likely be split between DeSoto Parish, Caddo Parish, the port, and some of our attributable funds.
And it doesn't require a whole bunch of acquiring of additional real estate either, because it's going to go off of the old roads, I'd assume, right?
The portion in most of that, which is in DeSoto, is the use of the Stonewall Frierson Road, which is the other side of the 3276 interchange.
Right.
It's improvements to that. The frontage road from there to Ellerby was in the I-69 SIU project. The portion from Ellerby over, part of that will be use of Robson Road. There will be a small piece in there that will have to be on some type of new alignment. We're hoping that new alignment falls within existing interloop, what's within this interloop document plus what's in the I-69 document, so there won't be any, need to do additional work for that.
What kind of time frame do you think on that service road?
If I recall correctly, we're hoping that the Stage 0 will be done within a year. And from that, they can move into full environmental. Most of that should be covered under what they call categorical exclusion, because it is using existing right-of-way and existing facilities. A year to get it under construction.
So that could definitely help that Flournoy Lucas and,
Definitely.
okay. Thank you, appreciate it, thanks for the update.
Councilman Brown, before I recognize you, I'd like to thank you for bringing this to Mr. Rogers here today.
Yeah,
You're
thank you.
recognized.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was, had spoken with Mr. Rogers and I had a couple of concerns on where we were, and he was gracefully accepted to come over. Three issues that I wanted to bring up, Mr. Rogers. The first one is, I guess, with the construction at the racetrack entrance into Barksdale, that's on schedule, I trust.
Correct. It's moving along pretty good. I think there's a slight delay from some weather, but I think it can be made up
But
within
that's
time.
moving forward. Now, the 19th meeting, so the 3132 inner city
Olympic
connector,
extension.
that's still on the table as far as a possibility.
Correct. What they do in the public hearings, that document's been on the street for a few weeks. It has to be on the street for 30 days prior to the public hearing. From the public hearing, there's another 10 days to receive comments back. We'll take those comments, have them addressed appropriately, submit that back to DOTD and Federal Highways. Again, Federal Highways is the final determining factor in all these. When they sign off on, for this project, it'll be called what's called a FONSI, a finding of no significant impact. It's still, that alternative or the no build are always on the table.
So, and you mentioned that if that's come to fruition, then that will go out to I-69 north, but I didn't think that was determined yet by the Federal Highway Commission, that which route would I-69 take coming out of Texas?
We have environmental documents and environmental clearance for I-69 all the way from El Dorado down to Stonewall. It's the portion from Stonewall to what would be roughly around Tenaha, Texas, US 59 and Tenaha. That's the portion that has not been determined yet.
So these signs I'm seeing going up 59 to Texarkana out of Cartridge, that has been, that's not the route.
Signage, the portion from Houston to roughly Tenaha would be 69.
Okay.
From that portion forward to I-20, eventually I-30, would likely end up being signed as, I'm trying to remember whether it's 369 or 269. I think it's 369 as a spur.
Right.
Along the entire 69 corridor from Port Huron all the way down to the Mexico border, there's about 7 or 8 spurs along that area. That's not uncommon to have those happen.
Okay. And my final concern, and the major one, is the I-49 inner city connector.
Yes.
Now, in 2017, NOP voted that Plan 1 would be the preferred route.
They built, I think
Build Alternative 1 would be the
Build
preferred
Alternative
route.
1, it was identified as the MPO locally preferred alternative at that time.
And that was submitted to state.
DOTD and Federal Highways.
So why is alternative route 5 still on the table?
There's some of the cultural, when we returned the cultural work for Build Alternative 1, some other questions came up in terms of Build Alternative 5. Again, it had not been eliminated. That was just, that resolution was from all the local bodies saying this is what we prefer to happen. DOTD and ultimately Federal Highways have to say that is the ultimate preferred alternative. We're hoping to have some determination on that within the next 6 months. So in order to do that, once that final determination is made, some of the smaller technical reports will be completed at that time, and we can move forward.
But didn't I just hear you say that the estimate cost of bill alternative 1 would be between 500 million and 600 or 700 million? Bill alternative 5 would be in excess of 800 million. So it'll be
Correct.
It'll be more expensive to loop it.
Correct.
So let me ask you regarding the $100 million that was appropriated at the last legislative session by Representative Bagley and approved by all the local delegation. Was that not specifically allocated for alternative Bill 1?
The wording for that is for the I-49 intercity connect. It does not identify a specific build alternative, but it does identify that as going towards the I-40, what's called the I-49 intercity
Connector, which is preferred Route 1.
Could be one or the other, yes.
Okay, so
you can't put specific language to it before you have that till we have that EPA final document.
okay. Do you have any idea what time frame you're working on?
Roughly a year.
About a year?
Yes.
Is there any more environmental studies need to be done?
We have to finalize the one that
What we have,
and then finalize some of the technical documents once they approve a preferred alignment.
Okay. So no action could be taken until that has been determined?
Correct. And there is some, I know there's been some talk of some of that money being potentially moved out. It's my understanding from reading the legislation that that money actually would not be available for roughly a year anyways, because of the way the language in the bill holds them to the current appropriation methodology through this fiscal year. So it wouldn't be till next fiscal year that the state could actually do anything with those monies anyways.
So when the session starts next month, it is a possibility they can mess with it? Is that what you're saying?
There's
never
always
know.
that chance, but the way the legislation is currently written, there wouldn't be a need to do any messing with that
Okay.
anyways, because they're still held by what the current allocation, the current
Yeah.
flow to wetlands mitigation and some of the other methods that the BP money was previously being spent on.
Well, I appreciate you coming down, certainly, and making those explanations, and hopefully we'll see some action on the
You're welcome.
I-49 through the city,
And
or the alternative route, whichever one.
Thank you. And before I leave, I do want to commend the mayor for his participation on the MPO and the NLCOG board. He's been there all the time, and we greatly appreciate that.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Thank you again.
Thank y'all.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I'm in order, I would like to ask that we suspend the rules and take up Resolution 24 at this time.
Okay, motion
I
to.
so move.
Second by Councilman, that's motion by Councilman Bradford on number 24, and a second by Councilman Butcher. Is there any discussion? Can we vote? Please vote.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Sanitary donation $28,237.03 from Willis Knight Health Systems to the city of Shreveport to be utilized by the Shreveport Police Department.
I so move that we affirm this resolution.
Second.
Motion to affirm by Councilman Bradford, second by Councilman Butcher. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would like Police Chief Raymond to come down. We're going to present him with a check, and Mayor, let's you and I go down.
Actually, you stole
be a
all
part
my
of this.
announcements.
Thank you, Councilman Bradford. Chairman Fleury, council members, Mayor Perkins. My name is Brian Crawford. I'm a Senior Vice President and Chief Administrative Officer with Willis Knight Health Systems, 2600 Greenwood Road, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71103. As the area's largest private employer, Willis Knighton Health Systems, its president and CEO, James K. Elrod, and our 8,000 employees remain dedicated to their leading philanthropic role in Northwest Louisiana by sharing our profits with others to make our community experience one of hope, economic prosperity, and caring for one another, and the feeling of safety in raising our families, supporting our businesses, and welcoming our visitors. It is that safety dynamic that brings me here today. Chief Raymond, where are you? There you are. Chief Raymond, Willis Knighton applauds your leadership and the outstanding and selfless efforts of the brave men and women of the Shreveport Police Department, for those who risk their lives so that we may live ours in peace and harmony. It is the very least that we can do to provide assistance when made aware of resource needs by your department. Thus, when the Shreveport Police Special Response Team Citizen Support Group brought to our attention the need for a new Special Response Team transport vehicle, I contacted Chief Raymond and began a dialogue of making that request a reality. Today, thanks to the Council's approval and Mayor Perkins' acceptance of this grant, Willis Knighton is proud to present a check for $48,237.03, the exact amount of the truck that they need to purchase this mission-critical vehicle to help your officers perform their role in a more efficient, effective, and safe manner in the protection of our community. Thank you.
Just a couple of words. I also want to show our appreciation to Willis Knighton. They have donated over $100,000 over the last probably 5 years to the special response team. When we have these larger needs that we're unable to budget, they've always been willing to help out. The van we're currently driving was purchased in 2003, I believe, and so I'm joined by several of the gentlemen on our special response team. Historically, they participate in over 100 operations per year, generally dealing with high-risk search and arrest warrants, getting drugs and guns and criminals off the street. So the van sees a lot of abuse. You can imagine what 17 years of that type of work will do. So we really appreciate this, and we look forward to many more years to come with this relationship. Thank you.
What put us over the limit was we were told that they could see the road from the inside of the van. So we were like...
Councilman Bradford, you need to come over on this side. Y'all are off balance. You need to, you gotta get the suits on the inside.
Oh, yeah.
The guys behind. There we go.
We'll take two, one with flash and one without. So one, two.
We're gonna get one more. One more.
Over here.
Oh, we got one more. All right, here we go.
You gotta get it. I know, right?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna make comments. I'll make it better.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
I don't know how y'all got pictures taken without me before. It's all off balance.
They was off balance.
They always look bad.
Y'all look so much better now.
Councilman Bradford, you had the floor. You can finish, then you have something else.
I just want to express, Mr. Chairman, I've been with Willis Knighton for over 25 years, and I'm always proud to see Willis Knighton commitments to this community to be exhibited in this way. The chief mentioned that we've donated over $100,000 in the last 3 or 4 years, but I could say without being contradicted that over the last 25 years, Willis Knighton has contributed over $1 million worth of supplies and equipment, police cars, ambulances, other vehicles. Our commitment is great in the sense that Willis Knighton ties part of his profits back to the community. Our primary field of giving back is through healthcare. I manage 2 healthcare facilities that are located in medically underserved communities, and we treat people regardless of their ability to pay. In Willis Knighton, out of those facilities, write off over $1 million a year of service for the medically underserved. In addition to that, we have a strong commitment to education, higher education in our public schools within Kettle and Bolger parishes. So it gives me great pride and honor to see this contribution being made here today as a continuation of our commitment to providing much needed resources to our first responders. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I just want everybody to appreciate the fact that we do have an institution in this town that not only take care of their employees, but also take care of the needs of this community as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Bradford. Any other council have? Yes, Mayor, I believe it's your turn.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Council Bradford stole my thunder a little bit in acknowledging Willis Knight.
He has been known to do that.
Yeah. Did Mr. Crawford leave already? You step out. Oh, okay, good. Well, somebody tell him that I'm thankful for their contribution as well when he walks back in the room. And every year about this time, they come bearing gifts. And it's actually always coincides whenever we have a CAO appointment. So I don't know if Mr. Crawford is coming just in time or what, but no, we're grateful for them in that. So thank them for continuing to support our city. The City of Shreveport, in partnership with Shreveport Green, will lead the effort in another citywide cleanup on April 25th. Individuals or groups willing to volunteer should sign up at www.shreveportgreen.org or call 318-219-1888, extension 16. I'll repeat that one more time. Anybody that wants to volunteer as an individual or a group for our community cleanup day on April 25th can log on to www.shreveportgreen.org or call 318-219-1888, extension 16. Second note, we're grateful for our community partners that support our first responders and help our city better serve its citizens. First, I would like to recognize the University Veterinary Health for their generous donations of the ballistic vests and all the work they are doing in conjunction with the K-9 rest area at this time. I would like to have Chief Raymond come up and present this and accept this award. Is he outside too? Everybody's outside taking pictures.
Mr. Crawford, how long will you be here? You gonna hang around for a little bit? Okay. Chief White, I want you to take that check to the bank while he's sitting up to the front.
Make sure it clears. It's the hospital shade.
I'm sorry.
Chief, you want to speak on behalf of the University Veterinary Health and their contribution to our K-9 unit?
Yes, so University Veterinary Health has contributed a large amount of funding to our K-9 support group in the form of 2 specific ways. One is they purchase ballistic vests for all of our K-9 dogs, K-9 officers to wear. They also are still doing some ongoing work at our K-9 rest at the police academy where we have a cemetery for those animals, both K-9s as well as mounted patrol that have died while serving the city. And so they're still doing some renovations and some work out there, some landscaping. They've been a very big supporter, and they hold quite a few fundraisers throughout the year and donate those funds directly to the Shreveport Police K-9 group. And we couldn't operate to the level that we do without their assistance. They were unable to join us today, but but we do want to send our appreciation to them.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. Mr. Crawford, you stepped out of the room, but I just kind of reiterated some of the talking points from Councilman Bradford, and I thanks for Willis Knight's continued support in this community. Some of those first responders you all saw actually just last week were involved in a pretty intense engagement with some citizens in our community. Eight of our police cars were actually fired upon with high-powered rifles in our city, and a lot of those first responders you saw are heroes here. They were under fire and responded, and we eventually got those guys that were doing it. But we take for granted. We see them in the grocery store, and we see them out, and we see them riding down our streets, but we often take for granted that they go out every single day and put their lives on the line for the safety of this community. So thank them for that, and thank Willis Knighton for supporting that as well. And Mr. Crawford, I already made a comment as well about every time you're here, we have a CAO appointment coming up. You have experience in that area, and I understand. Would you mind speaking on behalf of my nominee for CAO, if you don't mind?
It so pleases the chair. Mr. Chairman, council members. In my time and experience in knowing Henry Whitehorn, he's a man of character and trust, honesty and integrity. The CEO position is not one of technical expertise. In so much, he doesn't have to know how to pave a street, he doesn't have to dig a ditch, but more one of a leadership position in providing department directors the necessary resources and support they need to be successful. It requires team building, personnel evaluation, surrounding yourself with the most talented group of people that you can find, some of those a lot smarter than yourself, and realizing that you're not the smartest person in the room. It requires strategic planning, fiscal analysis to prioritize city resources that meet the greatest needs of our citizens, as we all know, with the smallest of margins. It requires the ability to evaluate, revise, add to, or remove programs and services, as well as policies and procedures. And as I mentioned, more than anything else, it requires someone with leadership experience, someone who has faced challenges and prevailed. Henry Whitehorn is such a man. His military service to our country, his law enforcement service to our state at the federal level and at the city level. His character is beyond reproach, and to my knowledge, has never been questioned. His work ethic is tireless and one of a servant leader. And I speak from experience. I worked with Chief Whitehorn personally when I was the fire chief, and he was the city police chief. His love for the city and its citizens is obvious by his presence here today, because a man with Chief Whitehorn's experience and credential are usually those we see leaving the city of Shreveport and heading for other destinations for employment. So let's send a message to our citizens and our children that if you work hard, you amass a stellar reputation and resume, that there is a place for you here in our hometown in Shreveport. I ask for your support for this nomination today. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Appreciate it. Mr. Chair, one last note. I would ask Mr. Ken Criff to come up and recite the I Have a Dream speech.
Part of it.
Part of it, sorry. Part of it.
Happy Mardi Gras. And 10 years ago, the two chiefs were the leaders. This is the second half of a 1767-word oration by Dr. King in front of the Lincoln Memorial on a hot day on August 28th of '63. And a privilege to get a chance to be 20 feet from him in February of '68, 6 weeks before he was shot. And so, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of justice. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of oppression, sweltering with the heat of injustice, will be transformed into an oasis of peace and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racist, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and little black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and little white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made smooth. The crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of God shall be revealed. And all faith will see it together. I have a dream today. And with this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to struggle together, to pray together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. And this will be the day, I want to say, my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to become a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this day comes, and when we allow freedom ring, we will let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every city and every state. And we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join together and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. Thank you, Dr. King.
That concludes my remarks, Mr. Chairman.
Yesterday, we had, moving to reports, we had property standards already appeared. Mr. Clark, do you have anything to add to what you had? Thank you very much. Then we'll see that we have no public hearing. Is that correct? None? Okay, Mr. Thompson, is there any legislation to be added on this date?
No, sir.
Okay. We have the following requests to speak. The Vice Chair, Mrs. Fuller, will control the time and speakers.
Linus Mays. Mr. Mays. Craig Lee. Please give your address and your name, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Craig Lee, 1112 Prospect Street. 3 quick issues I want to hit on. First, my organization, LACE and Get Up Incorporated, stand in solidarity with the recommendation to appoint Chief Whitehorn as the new CAO for the city of Shreveport. I understand that the administration started off on a rocky foot. This is a great recommendation. And as Mr. Crawford just got through talking about in terms of relationships and positioning, Chief Whitehorn, having served as the state director for the state police, the chief for the Shreveport City Police Department, and also lately as the U.S. Marshal, has all of those recommendations. So we are definitely in favor of that. Also, last night, some gentlemen tried their best to give their presentation on the Cooper Road as it relates to their housing development. We are in favor of that. Councilman Bradford is trying to work with these gentlemen. Hopefully they were not discouraged too much after being disrespected last night. But that particular project needs to go forward. And lastly, I attended the DOT meeting this past week, and Councilman Bradford, I'm going to tell you, there's some disturbing things going on with this I-49 intercity connector. $100 million has been procured, and legislators throughout the state want to know basically what is the holdup. There's a record of decision that has to be made, and there's a lot of shenanigans going on with this. I found out that the state allowed NLCOG to handle the local aspects of this, which should have been handled via the state, and there's some political shenanigans going on because this particular project in 1996, we advocated for this and the fight to have this done. You can now see the development in North Shreveport as money has been stolen from Allendale. People have been miseducated, misinformed as it relates to what the impact of this particular project, and there's a new group trying to loop the project around, and I'm glad you asked about the cost of that, because the cost of that is more than going through the inner city. This is about black folks not being able to benefit economically, and we are directly in favor of the inner city corridor going through its original route, and we stand in solidarity with the Chamber of Commerce, the Committee of 100. Senator Barrow Peacock has helped, and Senator Greg Tarver and several other individuals. And it is time that we now step to the table and handle our business so that we can get this project completed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg.
Mr. Mays.
Pastor Mays, excuse me, I had to run in here. I'm at 3622 Lakeside Drive, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. I'm gonna make this very brief and straight to the point. I am sick and tired of individuals who sit on the council but yet is not doing their fiduciary responsibility. We know in this city that we are 60% of the population. That's not include leading out other people. That's just saying that we need to make sure that the minorities in this city, that your vote is a reflection of the minorities in this city. And so we're gonna have different people. I understand that, Mr. Mayor, that the vote for Whitehorn, I've been knowing him for a long time, is not gonna be passed for him to be the next person that you called out for a position in this city. I've been watching this crap. Some people ain't been down here long enough to know nothing. Some just started getting involved in the political process. But I've been down here for a while, and I've been watching the hypocrisy that takes place by people, Mr. Nicholson, and I know you get your parents from people who used to sit in that seat that we talked about then. So I know that the Republicans are going to be against, and some Democrats up there is going to be against the vote that the mayor had. This is a concerted effort in order to strip this man of his power. And this is what I'm tired of. So I came down here today to let you all know that you are responsible for this city. And I done been walked out that door and can be walked out again, but I'm coming back every time. Because like Joe Shine and others, they paved the way for us to get up here and speak. And you gotta hear the citizen. I am sick and tired of politicians that gets in seats and they no longer hear from the people. We are one community, so I don't care what people say. We're gonna keep doing what we need to do. Cross Bayou plan is something that I'm in favor of. One lady said she hadn't even read the memorandum of understanding. But yet and still, you already have formulated your opinion. So don't come telling the citizens of this city when you haven't even read stuff, and yet you want to vote against it. We're tired of every time somebody black comes to this podium. Listen, we're not a joke. You want somebody to play with, because we're going to start, we got a committee of people, enough of them now, to where we're going to start getting rid of these people that's taking our vote for granted, taking our voice for granted. It's time out for the Stuckaboo. The same old. I've been watching it for years. And you know this, Jerry, I've been watching this kind of stuff for years that continue to play out over and over again. When you want to get back there in the back, and they'll say, well, you vote this way, I'm gonna vote this way, so it won't look like I'm doing this. I'm hip to all the games that are played. I'm not new to the game. Want to say that, thank you very much. Keep doing what needs to be done for the whole city,
Your time
and that
is
including
up.
blacks. Thank you very much.
Theron Jackson.
Theron Jackson, 6001 Foxbrook Circle, Shreveport, 71129. Mr. Chairman, to all of the council members, you all bear with me. I'm nervous to speak in public sometimes. I saw Art laughed at me. I haven't been here in probably up to this podium over the course of the last 14 years much at all, and because I respect the work that's done, and having sat on the other side, I know sometimes when you sit on the other side, people don't know the full story, and so sometimes they'll say things with emotion without the benefit of intellect, and it's just vitriolic, and I don't want to be seen in that way. I've come today because I was somewhat encouraged by Mr. Crawford speaking, because I had been embarrassed before to think that we would have to seriously deliberate over what might be possibly the most qualified candidate this city has ever had as a chief administrative officer. And I worried about the message we're sending to people who prepare themselves, when folks who are less prepared get opportunities. I heard there was an issue about a national search, when, I don't know if you all know this, but in my 30 years here in the city, we've had a CAO with no college degree. We've had a CAO with no government experience. We've had CAOs with no executive experience. And our fire chief, well, former fire chief just told you he was a fire chief before he became the CAO. I cast no aspersions on any of these people, because all of them, in my opinion, turned out to be pretty good CAOs, and they all proved to be okay, not because they were immensely qualified, but because they had the opportunity. And I think that's what's important. Today, you're confronted with a person who has been appointed by a president of the United States, a person who has been appointed by the governor of the state of Louisiana, and a person who has been appointed by a previous mayor of the city of Shreveport, a person who has been vetted by the United States Senate, a person who's been vetted by the state Senate, and a person who's been vetted by a previous city council. He happens, in my opinion, to be the most qualified law enforcement leader in Northwest Louisiana, and arguably in the entire state of Louisiana. He had the responsibility for the Office of State Police, in addition to the Office of Motor Vehicles, the Office of Management, and the Office of Legal Affairs, the Office of State Fire Marshal, the Gaming Board. We can go on. He's a person, though, more importantly, that I believe has an impeccably unimpeachable character and qualifications. Mayoral appointments are the mayor's responsibility. As you all know, the council's role is to advise and consent. I heard my former colleague, I think James Green, on this council intimate that when you can't change the inevitability, you got to weaken the role. Please don't be complicit and continue to overreach in the encroachment upon the powers and the authority and the charter prescribed specifically to the mayor. And please don't misappropriate authority for responsibility nor power for service. Everybody who is here has been blessed and benefited with the opportunity to serve. My hope is that we take that very seriously, and that we don't send the wrong message to people.
Pastor, your time is up, but I'll yield to my colleagues if they have questions for you. Does anyone have any questions for Pastor Jackson? So he can continue his remarks?
Sure. You want to say something, Jerry? No, Pastor, I appreciate you coming, and you really put it out that it's not, there's no real criteria except for being prepared to hold a position of such distinction. And I'm familiar with that. All we need to do, knowing that the person has the ability, the credibility, and giving them an opportunity to do their job, oftentimes they do their job. I'm an example. I mentioned earlier that I've been at Willis Knighton for over 25 years, managing health care facilities, and I was given an opportunity and evolved into one of the, I mean, it's documented, I guess, when I get my paycheck, one of the most productive healthcare managers in the system. So I concur that, and you didn't lay any disrespect on the person that came here without a college education, person that evolved from AT&T, person that evolved from the fire department. They all were selected by the mayor at that time, who had the prerogative to select who he felt would be the best qualified candidate. And I told the mayor yesterday that it's not on Chief Whitehorn or any other his department heads. it's on him. He is responsible for their job, and if the voters don't see that his administration is effectively administrating government in this city, then he will be held accountable during evaluation time. So I appreciate that. Now, you have examples as well, I would trust, that people that we didn't feel was able, for whatever reason, that we as individuals would reject somebody, but they turned out to be great administrators of the position in which they was appointed. Is that
Sure.
right?
I mean, I like you, or like some of you who are here now, when I served a singular term on the city council, I'd never been elected before. Somebody's placed confidence in the folks who are here, who have no elected experience, to say you can do the job. It appears that as you get your bearings about you, you're able to do that. And I'm saying the same thing happens when I was on the council and years before. And I'll say that when I watched councils before, I had the privilege of serving on one, and when I served on one, I watched. And our thing was, we knew the council's role, and the mayor had a role. And when the mayor would appoint someone, it was kind of like starting off. If you needed to score 100, you start off with 75. Because the mayor appointed you. And at that point, we find out whether or not that person deserved the 80, 90, or 100, but they started off with 75 because we trusted the people who the city put in place to serve as mayor, as the CEO, was a person who we could trust. And as a result of that, that's kind of what we did. I think what Chief Whitehorn does, Marshall Whitehorn does, is not puts anything to question or lowers the bar, but raises the bar for folks who come after him. If Chief Whitehorn can't be the CAO, the question is, who can? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Irma Rogers.
Good afternoon, Irma Rogers, 1920 Michoud Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71107. Chairman Fleury, Vice Chairman Fuller, Mayor Perkins and staff, and all city councilmen and ladies present. 2 items today. First, confirmation of Mr. Henry Whitehorn. The words I use to describe Mr. Whitehorn: leadership, stability, integrity. Leadership, having served locally, state, and nationally, 3 different offices, above reproach. No fault finding, no controversies, no bad history, no television antics. Leadership. Leadership depends on your ability to get others to follow you and not only perform, but perform at the highest level available within them, based upon what you see within them and what you can pull out of them at any specific time, placing people where they need to be, and not only placing them there, but giving them the assistance, the means and resources to do the job better than you even expected. Stability. You want a stabilizer within the administration? He's stable. His record, his history proves that. Others have already spoken of that issue. Integrity, above reproach. I've known Mr. Whitehorn for several years, approximately 20 years. That's my finding with him. I think he would make an excellent CAO for our city. As been stated before, others have not had quite the same kind of experience. He has at least had the experience of heading a department for this city and served it very well. He set up his own sting operations, unbeknownst to many, and did what needed to be done for that department. We should trust that judgment. Item number 21 on the agenda, zoning case number 19-470C, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the east side of Audrey Lane. This particular item is in the MLK area. We had a very, very heated meeting last night, and I think it deserves further discussion. I don't think that we should take the citizens for granted at this point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers.
Bobby Edwards.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bobby L. Edwards, 3325 Fernwood Lane, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71108. To Mayor Adrian Perkins and the City Council President and members. I am a former United States Air Force, the Ohio State University, and retired engineer on the Space Shuttle and Advanced Cruise Missile, or the B-52 bomber. I am with Together Louisiana, an advocate organization for process improvement in our city and our state. Now, during my frequent travels to the Capitol and working with the government and also our Governor Edwards and the legislature, we work on solutions to many, many problems. I'm here to support our mayor and his decision on the person he requested as Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Whitehorn. We have watched our political officials we elected make poor decisions, prejudice, self-centeredness, arrogancy, ways which cloud good judgment, rubber stamping issues without thinking. This is a creed that I go by, loyalty at all times. I would have respect for myself and others. Discipline, I would train mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I would always practice humility. Mayor Perkins, from one military vet to another military vet, I salute you, sir. For example, from 2002 to 2012, losing $541 million plus in tax revenue from Calumet alone. That's the money we need to use for experts that we put into office. And also our infrastructure improvement, which we badly need. Shreveport, compared to many cities, moves like a turtle in a world that requires change. Don't think for 1 minute the people are not keeping up with the taxes used to not make good decisions. Power without love is brutality. I learned that going down in Baton Rouge, listening to the political officials. We have not seen our officials since election in their neighborhoods. We cannot find you in the daytime with a flashlight. You need to reach out and pull someone else up sometime instead of thinking about yourself. Support our Mayor Perkins and help him succeed, people. Thank you very much, and may God bless America.
Sammy Mears.
Sammy Mears, 1901 Centenary Boulevard, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. What did one wall say to the other wall? I'll meet you at the corner. Now, starting on the date of March 4th, March 11th, March 18th, March 25th, and April 1st for 5 Wednesdays during Lent at 11 o'clock a.m. until 1 p.m. at Church of the Holy Cross at Texas and Cotton Street, there will be a soup, dessert, and ice water and coffee lunch for $5. If you feel the need for a good lunch, please come to that. That's March 4th, 11th, 8th, 25th, and April 1st. So on your lunchtime, that's a good place to come and eat for $5, Church of the Holy Cross. So I'm opening up the opportunity for anyone who will be interested. And also, on another little statement, I'll be turning over 15 calls very soon to law enforcement and to the Federal Trade Commission, since they won't leave me alone. I think the Detective Bureau should really take time to investigate these calls, because if they can't, I may have to go to the Shreveport City Council and get something done, because They know I need the help on this, and I'm getting tired of these robocalls bugging me. And every time that they bug me, I trace them, write them down, and block them just to get even.
Ms. Virginia Evans? That was a good one, Sammy.
I thought you'd like it.
I want to thank each one of you all for allowing me to come before you. I live in the Cooper Road area.
Miss Virginia, I need you to give your name and your address.
Okay. My name is Virginia Evans. I live at 2817 Hersey D. Wilson in Shreveport, Louisiana. And I'm from the Cooper Road. And I've heard others come up here to speak that don't even live out there. How can you come from Cedar Grove or somewhere else and tell us what we need on the Cooper Road? On last night, we had a meeting. Our citizen came out, and they asked me to come before you all to speak today. We've been lied to. We was hoodwinked. On November the 25th, 2019, an MPC was given an application to rezone the area. Well, we feel our city council should have told us what was going on. We only found out, now this is November, we just finding out in February. We don't want no more projects on the Cooper Road. We already got 5 low-income areas up there. We do not want another project. Our property values going down because of this, and we have people that are coming into our community does not have any respect and appreciation for our people. We were told last night that we didn't know how to take care of our property, that we didn't know how to take care of our home, and that the Cooper Road was a slum area. That was very offensive. I ask you all today, along with Mr. Bradford, to pull this from the agenda. You came to represent us. We voted for you to represent us, not to represent people from the outside. And I'm asking you today to pull that from the agenda and let our Cooper Road area produce what we want to produce and not from outsiders that come with a bunch of lies. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. John Glover?
Good evening. John Glover, 9325 Normandy Drive, Shreveport 71118. Yesterday evening, I stood in this particular space and I shared with you all a conversation. At your stations, each member of the council, the mayor, and the attorney, I gave you 2 pieces of the charter that I come today to get clarification on. Section 8.01 dictates that the mayor has power to do what? And section 4.20 says the council has power to do what? Yesterday, when I took my seat, there was an exchange that began. And the exchange was, to me, deplorable, because it questioned whether or not I had the ability to understand what I stood and shared with you all yesterday. I did not appreciate that. I, as a constituent of this city, has always been about us eradicating the need for division and divisiveness. I have always been there, and I will always stand there. But I will not accept being disrespected, no matter how it's done, because that is not what your roles are. I do appreciate the efforts that you put forth to help us get our city out of those smoldering ashes that keeps her bound. It's time for her to stand up, but she will never stand if it is that everything we do is intended and consistent of division and divisiveness. Thank you.
Reverend Brown.
Good evening. Albert Brown, 439 East 81st Street. To the mayor, chairmen, city councilmen, city employees, city of Shreveport. First of all, the Bible says, in all you get an understanding. And I talked to Ms. Fuller one day, and I'm the type person, if I was wrong, I was wrong. And first of all, Ms. Fuller, I want to apologize to you. I ask you to forgive me
Thank you, I do.
because I was wrong. I talked out of emotions. And I want to thank the city of Shreveport that we go forward, and I pray that we do go forward. And I want to thank the mayor that he continue to work with Linwood, continue to come forward, and it's taking time, but it's coming forward. And I want to thank the city of Shreveport that we just take our time and see, like I keep telling the people of city of Shreveport, it takes time. It's time. It's just timing. And I just pray, city councilmen, that you all just ride through the neighborhoods, and sometimes it is disgusting because of the fact that the housing and all the things. And I just pray that, like I'm working with the department standards and everybody to say, hey man, let's do something. You know, I believe you all are doing something because I call you all and I see that we do get the phone calls and everything like that, and you get right on it. And like I said, all the decisions you all have to make, I pray that you all make the right decisions for the city. Because like I told Sis Fuller, I'm not for Republicans, I'm not for Democrat, I'm not for black, I'm not for white. I'm for the city of Shreveport. That's what it's about to me. That's what it's about. Separating all this in a separation of Democrat and Republican and black and white. I'm not into that. I'm in the city of Shreveport, and that's what I want to see happen. That we look and see that we got a dream here, like that brother said earlier about Martin Luther, his dream. It goes through my spirit every time I hear him say it. I got a dream. I got a dream to see our city to be better than what it used to be. Got a dream to see our city to be a landmark for somebody else. I got a dream to say that we can do this. We can fix our streets back up. We can fix those houses back up. We can help this neighborhoods come back together. I got a dream, you all. I got a dream. That's why I'm still here. Because like I told y'all, I died 3 times. But I got a dream. I got a dream.
Marvin Muhammad. Sammy, what did the one wall say to the other wall?
I'll meet you in the corner.
Well done.
Don't try to upstage me.
Marvin Muhammad, 2808 Hersey D. Wilson. Couple of house cleaning issues first. From the months of January 2011 to the month of December 2012, during that 24-month period in the city of Shreveport, there was 34 homicides. 24-month period. Just last year, we had more than that. Why do I bring that fact? It was in the year 2010 that Chief Whitehorn left the city of Shreveport as chief. His leadership was so strong that even after his departure, he left a department that was still moving strong. Think over that for a minute. In a day and time when homicides and the threat of the loss of life is so pervasive, we have a man that's now returning back to the city again to bring stability. Second house cleaning issue, Councilman Nicholson on yesterday mentioned that the last time that the city charter was revised was in 2006, and he's right. What he failed to mention that what was the revision? The revision was to add staff to the city council members. That was added, but what wasn't added was appropriation of monies for its staff. If you would listen to the citizens of the Citizens Shreveport, it would be easily noted that a staff is needed for each one of you. So I would hope that in this next budget, that could be something that can be addressed quickly, because I know my 3 minutes is running out. In 1968, the Department of Housing and Urban Development created Section 235. 235 was an initiative that allowed HUD to subsidize interest rates for residents that wouldn't otherwise be able to have home ownership. It also allowed them to give a tax credit to those who wouldn't otherwise qualify. Under 235, the MLK community thrived. Last night, it was mentioned how at one time the MLK community was boasting in home ownership. When the MLK community was annexed into the city in 1978, the minimum income was $6,000. It was under that program, under 235, of which we was able to ascertain home ownership. Well, that program under Section 401D expired in 1998. Since then, I'm sorry.
Madam Vice Chair.
I'll yield.
I'm sorry.
I would like for him, I need to ask him a question, but I want him to finish that statement because it's
Can I
interesting.
give him a caveat that he not be as indulgent as he was yesterday?
I
It was
agree.
his birthday present?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Okay, I want to ask you a question, but finish your statement.
The point was that since in 1988, that has since expired, home ownership in the MLK community has dropped. But let me say this. I have came to this council several times asking for an investment by this administration and from this council with community grant block dollars, backed up with Section 108 loans going into the inner part of the cities. We have yet to move on that. We have asked this administration and this council to consider a revenue bond proposal that would go in and begin turning over the dirt in these neighborhoods so that the reaction that we received last night in the MLK community would survive. We have people in those neighborhoods who feel lost. I believe in the will of the people, Councilwoman Fuller. And so at this point, I'm mixed. I have mixed feelings about the development because, I mean, I probably received 20 phone calls today. As you know, yesterday at this very same podium, I spoke for that program. But my issue is that the people kept speaking about the process. They didn't know. They feel like if they would have known, they would have been able to contribute, to be a part of the process, and rightfully so. But in truth,
Mr. Muhammad, would you?
Yes, sir.
Would you, what you just said, but the developers said last night that they had to go out and get the funding first.
That's right.
Did they not say that? I mean,
They did.
How could, I mean, they did what they thought was right, get the funding in place. I mean, to me, that made sense, that they had to go get the funding, because they couldn't go to Raymond James until they got that. Then they came back and shared it with the people. And like I said, if the people up there don't want it, then they'll move on somewhere else.
right. And my issue is not with the developers.
Okay.
Councilman Fleury. My issue is with this council that have sat on his hands when we have came forward and asked. So just as in 1968 there was legislation that was passed that enabled those who wouldn't be able to get home ownership. I'm for infill development. I'm for one house at a time, one block at a time, one street at a time. But in the absence of that, it's very hard for me to criticize someone who wants to come in with $22 million. In the absence of that, I would be a hypocrite to tell them to take their money and go elsewhere. That's my point. I can't tell a man, look, nothing is happening here, but now that I come with a proposal, that's hypocritical. So this city is complicit, if you will. This city and its administration is complicit because we have asked, we have begged, we have pleaded. And this is my last point, and I'm taking my seat. Councilman Bradford, we're going to ask you, along with the city attorney and with the CAO, to reach out to y'all counterparts on the parish, Dr. Willie Wilson, Dr. Frazier, Ms. Frazier, and with Commissioner Johnson. Sewer District number 5. I know y'all knew, so if y'all can reach out to them, there's scores of monies that the parish and city right now is sitting on that belongs to the citizens of the Cooper Road. Monies that can be used for the MLK development. Y'all have just literally been sitting on the money. Sewer District number 5 has the board. For those of you who don't know, Sewer District number 5 was the district that was set up when we took our pennies, our nickels, our dimes, our quarters, my parents, my grandparents took their dollars, and we put in the infrastructure, the piping, that which still stay there today. We did that before we actually became a part of the city council. So that's my position, and I would implore y'all to start doing something for the inner cities so that we can start moving the city forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
This concludes our request to speak.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would be...
Councilman Bradford, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't say that this mayor and this council, being in office only a year and 3 months, would be in any way responsible for the condition of the MLK area. The chronic disinvestment of the MLK area is a 30-year process and Brother Muhammad mentioned it. Those who have been on the council with me for the last 4 years would know that every effort that I had as a councilman, District A, Cooper Road was a priority. I got a report from the engineering department that said that in the last 4 years in District A, there over 30 miles of asphalt has been laid in my district. We have made every effort to get reinvestment into that area. Mr. Chairman, you know that. Yes. Now there are some opportunities, but at the same time, we got to work together. Mayor, you know for a fact that last November, during the bond proposal, do you remember how much was allocated and designated for improvements on the MLK area?
30 million.
I do, Councilman, about 40 million directly and
At least
indirectly.
$40 million directly and indirectly was put in the bond proposal to deal with streets, drainage, housing, and several other things. But what happened? It was voted down. We have a budget that take care of our daily operations. We cannot get capital improvements if we don't pass bond proposals. Councilman Flory went to the mayor and said, listen, we need to do a little bit more. He added another 15 million, is that right? And saying that Councilman said that we will yield to the district that needed it the most. Did you not? So we have made efforts, this council have made every effort to make provisions to improve the most needed areas of town But if the voters voted down, especially those within the areas that would be affected by it, what do we do? What do we do? And I'm saying that, and I said it yesterday. I took councilmen on a tour of my district, not only the Cooper Road, but through Allendale, Lakeside, but they was more appalled by the MLK area where we could not stop and get a hot meal. We could not stop at a grocery store and get ice cream.
Lord, I know that.
And I'm saying, I want to do everything I can to help. But I can't fight people to help them. I can't struggle. The needs are great, but these are chronic needs. These needs have been in existence for years. We need, you know, and I've had meetings after meetings after meetings to help my constituents understand where I am with trying to improve our communities. But yet, I still get faced with resistance on something that is so simple. We didn't come, and I'm gonna yield my remarks because I have the gentleman here who's gonna make a presentation regarding that development. But they did a survey. They didn't just come out and pull something out the sky and say, we're gonna put housing up here. They wouldn't have went and tried to do this investment unless they had done their due diligence to see if the need was there. The need, the feasibility. Was it affordable? Was it something that could improve that community? Those questions was answered. But yet, Mr. Chairman, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the speakers. We have the following executive appointments to be considered today. The first one is Chief Administrative Officer Henry Whitehorn, Sr.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we confirm Mr. Whitehorn.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Bradford to confirm and second by Mr. Councilman Bowman. Any discussion? Please vote.
Yeah, discussion.
Okay, discussion. Mr. Bowman, you're recognized.
I tried to jot down a few things to say, so to help to make sure that it did come out right, and because I Lord knows I say some stuff sometimes and it come out wrong and people get upset with me about it, but I just tell it like I see it. I go off a half script and then I go off, but what I want to do is just ask you, I got to ask my colleagues first of all. If we go vote today and we voting for a CAO, which all I have known about Mr. Whitehorn is to be a leader, and which is leadership, and that is what we want for the city, and we want the right for the city, then those of us who go vote no, I guess my understanding is, are you voting no because you have something personal with the mayor, or you have a disagreement with the mayor, or you have something personal with Mr. It can't be with Mr. Whitehorn. So evidently it's something with the mayor or something that's not going in your favor. So I would ask that you would reconsider your thoughts and look at what we're trying to do as a city as a whole, and not hold something against the mayor. I know people say that they elected and they voted for the mayor because they wanted change. Well, he did some change, and he probably changed some stuff you didn't like. I get it. I understand. But we also have done some good, and we can't sit here and continue to bicker and go back and forth with each other and then do something that'll hurt the city, which is electing this man or appointing this man to be ICAO because we have something personal, or you're upset with the mayor because something he didn't do, or something he did do and you didn't like it. Take it up with the mayor, but not take it up with the confirmation and appointments of Mr. Whitehorn. That's what I had to say. Thank you.
Okay. No further discussion. Please vote. We have 3 yeas and 3 nays with confirmation failed. Chief Financial Officer Sharika Fields Jones.
Confirmation.
Motion by Councilman Bradford, and have a second?
I'd like to offer a counter motion to postpone.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Councilman Nicholson, and the chair recognizes Ms. Bullock. I'm sorry.
Mr.
Mayor
Chairman,
Perkins,
can I
I'm
make
sorry,
a-
I didn't see your name on the
Yeah,
board there. Go
I
ahead.
want to make some comments about the vote that just took place. I said on yesterday that this would be a very sad day for the city of Shreveport if we didn't confirm, I mean, I'm going to argue the most qualified CAO in city history. And, I mean, that's exactly what we just got. I second Councilman Bowman in saying that this has to be something that has nothing to do with Chief Whitehorn. And if there is a personal vendetta, then, you know, I would prefer that we just be honest. Yesterday, we had a very candid meeting. It was a long meeting. So in being candid, I want to disclose to those who came here today, who thought that we would be talking about the merits of somebody being appointed to that position. This never had anything to do with the merits of Henry Whitehorn. This was a concerted effort by a council member in John Nicholson, who was
Mr.
telling
Mayor,
other council members.
Well, we've been doing it. Everybody been calling names for the longest.
Mr. Chair,
The
Been
chair
calling
has
names.
the time, the chair reclaims the time. Mayor, you continue, but let's don't go into names, please.
Mr. Chairman, okay, I will avoid saying.
Well, let's stop
any-
everybody from calling names
Okay,
then.
all right.
Yeah, because and also this is a forum where I get to talk to citizens, and if you leave here and you get on the radio or you get on TV and you make a comment, it's still public record, and we know that council members do it all the time. So I'll respect you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll avoid saying the name. But there is a particular council member that went behind and spoke to council members, and we talk all the time about appointments in city business. There was a particular council member that spread rumors about Mr. Whitehorn and said that he had sexual harassment suits against him, said that police officers down at the police department didn't want him down there, and asked another council member, hey, can you ask him questions because I don't want to come off as racist. This is a personal attack by a council member. And I think it's shameful. And I repeat my message from yesterday. This is making our city look terrible.
They about to walk out, Mayor, so you can
Personal
stop.
vendettas.
They about to walk out.
We will put him back. We will put Mr. Whitehorn back up next council meeting. So all of you who came up to support it, just know that the city will do business. I'm committed to the changes that I said that I was gonna bring when I ran for the office of mayor. So come back in 2 weeks and we will put Mr. Whitehorn back up. Thank you.
I had a question though. I had a question. I still want to ask a question. Can you still appoint this man as interim CAO?
Yes, Councilman Bowman, I can and I will appoint him as interim CAO as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good to me.
Point of order.
Oh, no.
No, we don't have a quorum, so we fine. We don't have a quorum,
Yeah, but I'm the chair now.
but we don't have a quorum, so we don't have a chair and nobody else. Because now what I would like to see is if, like they did on the radio and everywhere else, and stated that when the commission got up and walked out on the meeting, they talked about it and said that you still have a fiduciary right, and what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to sit here and conduct the meeting, but you get up and walk out. So I just want to make sure that the Kia radio and everybody, the television and everybody else do the same as the council members got up and walked out.
That's it. Talk about that.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
We don't have a quorum, bro.
Well, what I'm.
I'll say this, I heard and told you about sexual harassment issues.
I'm gonna request
and
that the
also
clerk-
about some other stuff that I'd heard, but it wasn't from John.
I'm gonna request
Now,
that the
I heard it
clerk
from
go
other
and seek
councilmen.
and he,
Okay. The other
request the
instances, there
councilman
had
come back
nothing to
into
do
the
with it.
chamber.
But Vice Chairman, aren't you gonna, can you conclude
I
the
want to
meeting since we
continue,
don't?
but I'm having mutiny up here. These dudes just don't want to listen to me.
Councilmember, can we close out the meeting? I think that.
No, I think what we need to do at this point is ask the
Vice Chair?
to request the clerk to go and summons those individuals back into the chambers. Can you do that?
I'm going to wait a beat because I was just going to say that, but evidently I don't get to use a microphone myself. Would you be so inclined, Mr. Thompson? to ask them to return.
And that's totally disrespect to our mayor and to this city.
You're being disrespectful right now, too. Everybody needs to calm down and take a beat.
Disrespectful today. No, you be quiet. Be quiet. Because that's what's wrong in this city. Too many of us want to butt up.
I'm going to ask the marshals to have you removed if you
Baby,
can't calm down.
It ain't nothing new.
I know.
I'll be
We
right
all
back
know.
next time. But
It's
this is
fine.
not your place. What he's saying is right.
Would
They
you
had
invite
no
him to
business getting
leave?
up walking out of here. That's just about mine. I mean, we're not gonna do it, but there'll be no more disrespect from this mayor. Put this on TV, because I want you to march me out, and you're gonna march me out again and again and again.
Please don't put him on TV. That's all he wants.
The population in the city will not allow this man to continue to go on. I mean, I don't want you about me.
I'd like for the viewers watching at home to realize that we are, as a city, better than this. That's all. We're better than this. I heard you say she didn't forgive me. I brought you cookies. Have you eaten any of your cookies? Eat your cookies. Your sugar's getting low. It's a good time for. Y'all, there's goldfish in the front. Y'all might get hungry. It might be a long meeting. Well, I got 2 big 20 snack packs this time, so there's plenty to go around. We really can't continue with any business until we have a quorum, so we might as well just, shoot the breeze. How about that fight Saturday? I didn't actually watch it. I think that Fury took full inventory of Wilder, though, and came back at him. That's what it looks like. He shouldn't have asked for that rematch.
You agreed to a rematch?
Well, that was the rematch, is my understanding. Seems like Fury got his full inventory of Wilder the first time.
The first fight was a draw, didn't it?
Was it? I thought that Wilder won.
I thought the first
one.
I'm okay. I'm in good shape.
Why don't we take a 5-minute recess? Take a little break.
That's what we're doing now.
I mean, like, actually get up and remove ourselves from the situation and come back, hit the reset button. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess. We'll be back at 4:45. Really? They just left?
Well, they left. Maybe they left. I don't know. Maybe they left. The same way they wanted to leave yesterday.
Okay. Oh, I got Milanos too, y'all.
Mr. Chairman, y'all staying?
Huh?
You staying?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. How you represent the meeting? Well, I mean, the vote already took place. What's that? Yeah, I'm gonna bring it back in 2 weeks. The vote already took place, so public comment at this point. Like I said, I can bring it again if you want to add to it. Because there's no point of comment. Like I said, you can do it at the end of the meeting. Send a notice. Somebody come and read out the notice. Yeah, there you go.
Wait a minute. Y'all are reading everyone.
Yeah, I don't work with it.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
call for order of the day.
Okay. We have, Shreveport, excuse me, go ahead, Mr. Brown.
I move that we confirm Ms. Shamika Field Jones.
The motion that was on the floor was my motion to postpone for 2 weeks.
That was a substitute motion. That's right.
And it had a second.
Okay, so that's the prevailing motion.
Okay.
Mayor, my feeling is that it would be best to keep Ms. Jones in place as CAO until we figure out what's going on in the next 2 weeks. I understand that your intent is to continue to have Mr. Whitehorn on as interim or chief of staff, and I realize that causes some duplication and confusion, but it would be, I think that it would be prudent to leave her in place for at least the next 2 weeks.
All right, Councilwoman, I respect that. We can
Okay.
go forward. Yep, thank you.
Okay. All in motion, any further discussion? Let's vote then. And sixth, with 2 hours.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recognized.
Mr. Nicholson?
Mr. Chairman, when you and I colleagues sit around this horseshoe, we're not sitting here as individuals. We're sitting here and we come together for council meetings as the duly elected representatives of almost 200,000 people. Like you, Mr. Chairman, I represent tens of thousands of citizens. Our community is made up of people with different interests and different backgrounds, but our job, our function, our responsibility is to come together and do the city's business in as honorable and efficient manner as we can collectively manage. The mayor dishonors himself and his office.
Excuse me, Mr.
Excuse
Chairman,
me,
can we,
Mayor,
can you
I
say
have
my
the
name
floor,
if I
Mr.
can't say
Chairman.
his, Mr. Chairman?
Councilman, this is a very troubling time right now. Let's take a deep breath and step back and see if we can't get through this council meeting today, okay? I beg of everybody to cool down and try to let's get through the business of the people for today. Thank you.
Amen.
Mr. Whitehorn, I'd like to address you since the mayor told several lies regarding my conduct.
Mr. Chairman, can I respond to this? Because it's going to be we're going to have to go
Point of order, Mr.
and
Chairman.
address each other
Bradford.
first.
Mr. Chairman, you requested that we try to be decent and orderly, and I concur with that, and I think we can do that. Whatever disagreement that seemed to be prevailing in the council chambers today, I think we can reflect back years ago when the council would be here for 6 hours, and 2 of those hours would be a dispute between a councilman and a mayor. I don't want us to relate back to those times. I think whatever, I'm in respect of Councilman Nicholson, I think he has the right to express what he wants to express. But at the same time, I would respectfully ask him what would be the benefit of your expressions to Mr. Whitehorn.
I would like to address Mr. Whitehorn respectfully. Councilman Bradford, I have nothing.
You have that
negative,
right.
And I'd like to do that.
You have that
if I
right to
may.
do that.
Thank you,
Mr. Whitehorn, I said yesterday that I had the highest respect for your record as United States Marshal. You were appointed by a President of the United States and confirmed by the Senate. I respect that service. I also noted in my remarks yesterday your honorable service as Superintendent of Police, to which you were appointed by the Governor. And you served as Police Chief for this city. I have not slandered you. I have not impugned your integrity. I did, as I have with all significant appointments to the city, ask questions privately of my colleagues about every aspect of your background which I could learn about, because I thought that was my responsibility in deciding whether or not to support your confirmation to the position of Chief Administrative Officer. I mean no disrespect to you and expressed none, but I am one of 4 members of the council, including Councilman Green, who chose to absent himself, knowing that the consequence would be that you would not be confirmed today, that decided that the process that was followed to select you was not the process that we wanted to see. I told Mayor Perkins before he selected his first CAO that I wanted a national process. Business leaders from around this city who supported him told him expressly, we would like you to conduct a national search. He didn't do that. I nonetheless supported Ms. Jones. She's done a very fine job. But I told him again when he indicated to me that he intended to vacate the position and select a new Chief Administrative Officer that I would like him to conduct a national search. That's a better process than has been followed in the past. And the fact that prior mayors and prior councils have appointed people whose qualifications were far less impressive than yours are is not a reason for us to fail to follow the best possible process. I was one member of 4 who came to the conclusion that you should not be appointed as Chief Administrative Officer at this time. The mayor's reasons for personally attacking me, I cannot fathom. But I want to reiterate to you that I have the highest respect for the service that you have rendered to our state and to our nation, and I appreciate your offering yourself. Thank you.
Okay. You'll have an opportunity to respond.
No objection. Yes, that'd be fine.
Excellent. Mr. Chairman, Councilman Nicholson, Mr. Mayor, and the rest of the council, I have gone through probably the most intrusive vetting in the positions that I've held than most folks will ever have to go through. From my 18th birthday to now, I was investigated by the FBI. I have a top secret security clearance, and nothing in my background has been found that would ever attack my integrity, my character, or my honor. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment
yes,
really quick?
Jared, you
Yeah, I'm not gonna go back and forth with a council member. I'll just say this, because my integrity has been called into question. I went to the United States Military Academy where I graduated with honors, served in the Army 3 tours to Iraq and Afghanistan, not a blemish on my record. went to Harvard Law School, was again selected by my peers to lead. I didn't magically, my integrity didn't magically become compromised when I got in this position. Council members, even if today they say, I don't know where the personal attacks has come from, there have been council members that have personally attacked me and my administration for 14 months now. Even if it doesn't happen up here on this dais, we live in a small community. I know on the radio stations and the TV stations exactly where these sources are coming from. So to pretend that this is all civility and we have to be honorable, but then go behind our backs or in some dark rooms and behave in that manner, it tarnishes everyone in this city. Everybody knows I have been calling for unity. I've been trying to work, as a matter of fact, I work with every single council member up here. Even Councilman Fleury today, I completely respect this man. We work together, we agree on things, we disagree on things. I've been in this community with him. I've worked with every single council member. I am not the problem here. And it's nothing that's going to give, I am not the problem. I'm going to continue to work with council, I'm going to continue to work with the city. And again, we are gonna see where these 4 votes land when Councilman Green gets back. The assumption that he is against this is wrong. I mean, I spoke to him today, so we'll see when Councilman Green gets back who's going to be the CAO for Shreveport. Thank you.
Thank you, man. The next, I'm sorry, Councilman Bradford, you're on the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And let me just say, certainly, emotions sort of took our attention today. But I just want to lay out the rules of the council and proper protocol. And I'm gonna reference last night. You was there, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Last night, in my district, I had a community meeting, and I was called everything but a child of God.
That's right.
False accusations, innuendos, threats, you name it, it happened. Mr. Chairman, what did I do?
You stood and took it.
These positions require thick skin. And every council member have the right to vote as they choose without having their motive questioned. And the protocol is once we vote on an issue, unless there's a call for reconsideration, that issue is finished.
Thank
We rehashing something that has already been voted on and prevailed. That's why I asked, there's no purpose other than to insult each other.
Right.
We supposed to move to the next agenda item unless the prevailing party, that is the prevailing votes, say we want to reconsider it. Then we can bring that back up for reconsideration. But other than that, talking about a vote that has already happened has no reference. So I just want us to be vigilant and taking care of the business of this city. The citizens sit us down here to transact the business of this city, and we should not disrespect that honor to serve this city, and we should not, I guess there are some circumstances that we will not live up to our responsibility to stay in these seats and whatever come our way to take care of the business of this city, Mr. Chairman. I just pray that we will not allow our emotions to be broadcast over this city again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I would just go ask Ms. Jones, is Mr. Green gone from the building? He's supposed to give me a report today, and I didn't get it.
I'll call him.
Can he bring it back to me, please?
Yes, sir.
Order up to date, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Deputy Director of IT.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilman Bradford and Councilwoman Fuller. Second. Any discussion? Please vote. And that passes. Congratulations, Mr. Aaron. and Assistant Wilson, Y. Wilson.
I move for confirmation.
Second.
Councilman Bradford, first motion, and Councilman Butcher, second. Any discussion? Please vote. Councilman Mayor? Okay.
So move for confirmation.
Second.
Councilman Bradford and Councilwoman Fuller. No discussion? Any discussion? Let's vote. And that there are no items under consent agenda for adopted. Mr. Thompson, please proceed to the regular agenda legislation with the second reading and final passage.
The
Resolutions.
The first resolution is number 7. There was discussion yesterday about removing this from the agenda.
I move to withdraw this legislation.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Nixon, second by Councilman Bradford. Any discussion? Please vote to withdraw.
Resolution number 10, Metropolitan Planning Commission to pass a resolution to halt the acceptance of new annexation applications for a period of 12 months. 2 amendments have been submitted to us. I understand from the author of amendment number 2A that he will not, that's going to be withdrawn.
Yeah, I wish to withdraw that.
So we have one amendment. It's amendment number 1 by Councilwoman Fuller. This amendment provides an exception for subdivisions.
I'm going to motion to, I'd like to table this.
Table? So the motion is to table resolution number 10.
And a motion and a second? Oh, you're going to table it. Okay, so don't have to do anything on that, right? Okay.
But there needs to be
Vote?
a second.
A second.
What the heck?
So the motion dies
So-
for,
Motion to table number
I would,
10?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I would like for us to revisit this a little bit more in depth. It seems that I continue to get calls about this. This is a very hot topic in my district. And I will second the motion to table it if Councilwoman Fuller and I can sit and have a conversation with some of the people that are involved. My instinct would be to vote it down and let's start from scratch, but I'll be willing to second it if we can work together on this.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and do a substitute motion to withdraw.
Okay. Substitute motion to withdraw. Do I have a second?
I second that one.
Councilman Bradford,
And-
second.
And just for the sake of discussion, I've had several conversations with people from different professional associations that would be involved in this. And I had a conversation today with the board, the chamber board, and my feeling is that, one, there seems to be some lack of understanding about the actual process, and that this is literally just to send this to the MPC so they can do their due diligence and would not immediately halt annexation, because that's where the actual study needs to happen. And 2, that if we're going to halt the annexations, that there should also be some incentive for infill or some mechanism in place that makes infill easier at the same time. So my intention would be to have balance at the same time that I go ahead and resubmit this legislation.
Later time.
Yes.
I support such a move.
Mr. Chairman, and I support that 100%. There's several things that I think we need to have answered and maybe work together on. I'm 100% behind Councilwoman Fuller on any new annexations of any new developments in a certain area, and we do need to fill in some areas in the city first. So I'll second her motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Let's vote. Motion to withdraw. Number 10.
$11 is a resolution the mayor to enter into a contract with Pratt Paper LLC Pratt Recycling LLC and BFI. I believe that the administration wants to postpone this.
Motion to postpone.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Nicholson, second by Councilman Butcher. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion to
Resolution number 16 authorizes the mayor to execute an agreement between the city of Shreveport Unlimited.
So moved.
second. Max, second by the chair. Any discussion? Please vote.
Who are you waiting on? Councilman Nicholson. Resolution 17 authorizes mayor to execute an agreement with Port and Pinpoint Events LLC.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Bowman, second by the chair. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion is approved.
Resolution number 18 authorizes mayor to execute the City of Shreveport and People Acting for Change and Equality,
So
Inc.
moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bowman, second by Councilman Bradford. Any discussion? Please vote. And that motion, number 18, is approved.
Resolution number 19 authorizes between the city and Red River Revel.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Bowman, second by Councilwoman Fuller. Any discussion? Please vote.
Discussion, Councilwoman Fuller, is this something that we needed to postpone to accommodate the 1 year?
The lease agreement isn't a part of this.
Okay.
That's going to be a separate issue.
Totally separate.
Resolution 20 authorizes between the city and Royal Megan Friends.
So moved.
Second.
Second, motion by Councilwoman Fuller, the second by Councilman Bowman. Any discussion? Please vote. That's approved.
Resolution 21 authorizes mayor to execute an agreement with Get Up, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilwoman Fuller, second by Councilman Bowman. Any discussion? Please vote.
Councilman Nicholson.
And up and gone. It's approved.
Resolution 22 authorizes mayor to execute between the city and Red River Road Runners.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bowman. Any discussion? Please vote. And that is approved.
Resolution 23 authorizes execute an acceptance of act of donation between the city and Best Yet Uri LLC for the water and sewer main extensions and related facilities to serve Best Yet Storage Uri Drive.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Butcher, second by Councilman Bowman. Any discussion? Let's vote. Motion approved.
Resolution 24 was Resolution 25 authorizes the employment of legal counsel to represent the Municipal Fire and Police Civil Service Board.
You have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Are you second or you need a second?
I need a second.
I do second.
Councilman Bradford, second. Motion by Councilman Butcher. Any discussion? Please vote.
Resolution 26 authorizes the mayor to execute a grant to the States Department of Justice.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, second. Councilman Bradford, motion, and second by the chair. Any discussion? Please vote.
Resolution 27 authorizes the execution of with the Carner Group LLC, Hammond, Sills, Atkins, and Geis LLP, Johnson & Johnson PC, and Washington & Wells Law Firm, and otherwise provides with respect thereto with one amendment. The amendment provides that outside counsel shall not receive a contingency fee on any compensation the city receives in its capacity as a member of the certified class in a class action lawsuit.
Discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead. Let me get a motion first. Let's see, do I have a motion on it? Okay, it fails without, for motion.
Are you talking about on the amendment?
On the amendment.
Well, how, no,
Or on the whole
We
thing?
need a motion for the.
It was on the
Did we
amendment.
vote on the whole
It's
thing?
on the amendment.
Oh, on the amendment, okay.
Amendment.
so moved on the amendment.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Nixon, second by Councilman Butcher. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
I think, yeah, that's the.
Are these documents for everybody?
Yes, sir, we had trouble with the electronic system today, and you're receiving a paper copy now. There was some discussion of this yesterday. As I indicated during our administrative conference, there is a class action lawsuit pending in the Southern District of New York. 3 of the defendants have settled, and the deadline for class members to submit proofs of claim is this Friday. Submitting a proof of claim is not something that requires legal assistance, and there's no reason that any lawyer employed by the city should receive a 25% contingency fee on that piece of this litigation. There are also more than a dozen additional bank defendants, financial institutions, that I understand the city is going to file suit against using these lawyers. I'm not objecting to these lawyers being retained for that purpose or to their being compensated with a 25% contingency for that work. I am suggesting to the council that it is not normal practice in my profession for a lawyer to receive a contingent fee on a proof of claim that's to be filed 48 hours after that lawyer is retained. And so for that reason, I request your support for this amendment.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, let's vote.
What are we voting on?
It's on the amendment, correct?
On the amendment. That passes 4-2-2.
Need a motion on the resolution as amended.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Okay, Councilman Bradford, second. Any discussion? Please vote.
I have a question for the city attorney. At what point, we're retaining them as of this legislation for something that happens on Friday, but when did all of this go into play? When was the trigger originally pulled on this?
If I may, Councilwoman, I'd like to defer to Mr. Washington. He brought the information to me by way of outside counsel, so he would have more of the historical information.
I didn't hear the question that you asked.
So as of today would be retaining because of legislation, but when did the trigger get pulled on this coming forward for us? The idea that I'm getting from, or the assertion from my colleague is that you're getting 48 hours of retention for something that's going to take a little bit of time to scribble together, so we don't need to worry about paying the contingency for the thing that you brought to us. But when did we pull the trigger on this whole thing for this legislation to be in front of us right now?
Okay. Back in end of November, the firms contacted us because we bond counsel for the city and mentioned the claim to us. He sent me petitions, summaries, executive documents, privileged documents, asked me to review them all. And once I determined, hey, it sounds a legitimate claim, and the city may be able to receive some money. Either be $5,000 or $1 million, I wanted to bring the claim to the city. At that point, they informed me that they have contracts with the city of New Orleans, state of Louisiana, city of Baton Rouge, and other agencies in New Orleans where there's a contingency fee to do this. So from December until January, as if y'all recall, Charles Madden resigned, right? So from that point to December, from November to December, I was doing everything to get this information over to them, dealing with the city, dealing with Makisha, the city attorney's office. Not only that, I informed Makisha that, you know what, I don't want to be a part of this and get other counsel. And you know why I did that? Because I didn't want to hear this. So I wanted to make sure that the city get the money, and no matter what, I didn't want to be involved because I didn't want to hear whatever I'm hearing. So after that, as time went on, I tried to get out again. Like, let's just find someone else. And you know what they said? Well, Alex, you're our bond counsel. You're familiar with the investments, and you're the person been dealing with the city for the most part. So with that being said, we was coming up on some deadlines, and since we were coming up on deadlines, I decided to stay involved in this claim. Now, but for those firms giving me the same contracts with the same fee arrangements, it's only right that you pay the same. Just like in the bond deal, people are paid based on the Attorney General's fee schedule.
I like getting paid when I work.
Right, and I just worked, John, which you may not know, because we didn't get to talk again, and you said you were gonna call me, I think this morning. From December all through January until now to get you to this point for this February 28th date. And now what happens is I come to this meeting and it's the same. And they can confirm what I said. And the mayor didn't know. He thought that Alex wanted to be a part of this. This is the first time hearing that I said I didn't want to be a part of this. I just wanted the city to get the money. So the reason I just spoke to Sharika, what I told her was, I'm not filing a claim for the city. I'm not gonna go through this entire process and come here today and here get paid less. I'm not doing that. If the city don't want the money, if the city don't want developments, if the city don't want CAOs, I don't want to be a part of it either. So y'all have to choose. In this situation, we're trying to let the city get some money. And that's the only reason I'm here. Mr. Fleury, you know me, I'm just trying to help the city.
Thank you,
And we've
Mr.
done everything we can do to get you to this point.
No, I
So
appreciate
if
it.
voting against this means the city don't get money on the 28th, okay? And I'm not personally, because you speak about being qualified, right? This firm, an outside firm, brought this claim to us. So since they did, I know what my skill level is. They asked me about litigation. They asked me about federal court. I've tried cases in this state and in Texas. I'm the first black president of the federal bar. You know that. I've tried cases everywhere. I'm the bond counsel for this city. I've done the work to get us to this point. Is that worth that small percentage that they're giving me? Because we're getting the smallest of percentages, and the city stand to gain the most. So what I'm saying, and what reason I spoke to Sharika was like, just lose the money. Don't matter to me. I tried to help you.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Forget, I wasn't trying to interrupt you. I'm a little antsy about this because I need to ask Mr. Thompson a question next. Would it be prudent, or is it okay for me to ask if the prevailing vote on that amendment would like to consider and would put a motion forward to reconsider?
I don't see any reason why you can't ask if.
Then I'm just putting it out there. I can't make the motion because I wasn't the prevailing on the amendment.
I make the motion, I was on the prevailing. So I make the motion that we reconsider.
I second the reconsideration.
The motion is to reconsider amendment number 1. Is that right?
The amendment. To reconsider the amendment.
Yes, yes, a motion and a second.
Yes.
I motion, and,
Right.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
So, question, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The question is on the reconsideration.
Right.
So.
To the amendment, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Attorney,
Yes, sir.
what Mr. Washington just expressed, what is your view on the scenario in which the finding of revenue that would be granted this city without the research that is necessary? Is that your view as well?
Well, Councilman, I want to be very careful not to speak in a way to influence the council on how to vote, but I will say that Mr. Washington was correct in noting that he has been in contact with me since at least November. I thought it was before then, but I know at least November until present date about these claims, these potential claims, and what interest the city may or may not have. I was the one, I'll just state for the record, that insisted that he stay on board because he is bond counsel, and I know what my limitations are, and numbers is one of them. I don't know anything about bonds, and so I defer heavily on him and our other bond counsel for that level of expertise. I will note that, you know, all attorneys are bound by certain rules and ethics of professionalism, and so if attorneys are going to receive fees for work that they did not perform, there are rules against receiving unearned fees, so there is that, you know, mechanism or level of protection that exists, but that is about all that I am comfortable saying respectfully on that issue.
Thank you, ma'am. So let me refer to Councilman Nicholson. You said that it's not a practice to receive funds that you didn't do work for.
Yes, sir, and I'll restate my remarks so that there is no confusion. First, I've lodged no objection against the city hiring the lawyers identified. I didn't object to Mr. Washington participating in this case, and so my concern is not with the lawyers that the city has selected. I've known Mr. Washington a long time. I respect him. He's a reputable and very talented member of the bar. There are two parts to this case that's pending in the Southern District. One part concerns 3 defendants that paid in about $45 million or thereabouts into a settlement fund. For a class member like the city of Shreveport to participate in that settlement, the deadline to file a very small form is this Friday. The lawyers in New York who litigated that case, who filed a class action lawsuit, who got the class certified, who negotiated a settlement with those financial institutions, those lawyers are getting paid for the legal work that they did. So lawyers are being compensated for that, they're just not here. My suggestion to the council is simply that no law firm, no matter who it is, should take a contingent fee on a payment that the city is going to receive as a class member. The form that we're talking about that has to be filed Friday is a form that will be filed in the Southern District of New York. And once the city establishes that it is a member of the class and that it participated in bond transactions that are covered by the settlement, then it will get paid its pro rata share of the settlement according to the terms of the settlement.
So,
but there's a second part
Okay.
of this litigation.
Sure.
And the second part is there are about 13 additional banks that paid into the Southern District of New York settlement a far larger amount of money. And I don't remember the exact amount, but it's in the range of $350 million. I understand that the city is deciding that it is going to opt out of that part of the settlement in New York. The city is going to litigate against those banks in the Middle District of Louisiana. I have no problem whatsoever with the law firms receiving a contingent fee to litigate against those banks. That's entirely appropriate. And I expressed that to various members of the city and to members of the council. My suggestion is simply that the lawyers should not receive a contingent fee on a payment the city receives as a class member in the Southern District litigation. And that's as complete an explanation as I can give for my position on this issue.
Well, you was clear. I was in negligence of not understanding completely, but I do need to ask you a couple of questions. Number one, in regards to the first case that you mentioned, that you don't see the city losing any revenue from that transaction.
If the city will file a proof of claim before the deadline, the city will receive whatever it is entitled to receive from that Southern District of New York case. And the deadline to do that is this Friday, to my understanding.
Okay. So, in regards to the amendment, does it prohibit being proactive in looking at other opportunities that the city may be entitled to?
Councilman, I don't think it does, and I will point out for the public and for our colleagues that attached to this amendment that I offered are notices that went out to class members per the order of the federal court in New York. And so it may well be the case that the city did not recognize that it was a class member until the lawyers Mr. Washington has referenced brought that to our attention. But the mere fact of notifying a municipality that it is a member of a class and therefore entitled to file a proof of claim is not something for which a lawyer should receive a contingent fee. And that's my understanding after practicing for 15 years.
Vice Chair,
It seems that Mr. Washington might have something he'd like to add.
can I ask you to give me your reasoning for thinking that we should defeat this amendment?
It was right before we voted, it just occurred to me that if we're looking at the legislation now, that that it was planned prior to today, that no one just came down before this meeting started and said, hey, let's go ahead and add this to vote on so that we can fill out this form on Friday. I think that the next question would be, is our city attorney and her staff willing to take on filing that paperwork themselves, or this is just gonna be money that we don't get if we don't agree to the contingency?
If I can be honest and candid, Councilwoman, I have never done that. That is not something that my office typically does. It's my understanding that we have, since forever, before I got here, relied on outside counsel to handle those type of issues.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would imagine I could attempt to do it, but I don't want to be raked over the coals if for some reason it's not done correctly, because that's not my area of expertise. That's why I rely on outside counsel for those type of issues.
Chair, I want to continue my response to Councilman Bradford and just say, I'm not particularly inclined to vote against the entire thing, but I wanted to make sure that we all had an understanding of what we were doing. And it's already on the record that I voted the way that I voted on the amendment.
I appreciate that. Again, my concern, and I think the Councilman Nicholson expressed and what drew my attention was this, that we are entitled to a class action resolved, then that process is pretty much completed and we're gonna move. But my other concern was, which was the prevailing concern, was that do we pay people for work regardless of if we be the beneficiaries of their work? I mean, there was a lawyer somewhere, I don't know who else say, we don't get you some money, you don't have to pay us nothing. I mean, I don't know how that works. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just saying, I don't want to pay people for work if we don't get no money,
Right.
and that's my concern.
Yeah, I guess the inverse of that would be, if we do get the money, we should pay people for the work they did.
That's right.
That's
Well,
what
that's
I'm-
obvious. That's an
That's
obvious.
the understanding I'm trying to get. I mean, I guess it's obvious, but it seems like maybe it's not that obvious.
I mean, it's like in the Old West, the bounty hunter. You go out and you hunt.
And you get your finder's fee.
You get your fee.
Mhm.
So, do that encourages lawyers to go out and be bounties?
Blood in the water, you mean? Another one of those things where we're vulnerable because we
Anyway,
set ourselves up for it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm clear on that. Thank you.
Councilman Bowman, you on the board?
Yeah, so it's only two, from what I was told, it was only two pieces of paper that had to be filed. When no work had to be done, everything was already done. And it's just two pieces of paper that got to be filed. So, is that true, Mr. Washington?
Before you made it to the two pieces of paper, and I think you spoke to those attorneys over the phone, they had to go through the discovery process. They gained some privileged information, which I know they told you about. And everything they gained led up to those two sheets of paper. That
all the work
he
was
say two
already
sheets
done.
of paper, but
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bo.
No, go ahead.
He say two sheets of paper. What I'm agreeing with Makisha that if these guys are the expert in this area, and the reason I spoke to Ms. Jones is because I'm not filing the claim for you on the 28th. I just want you to be clear. However y'all vote, I won't file the claim. If you vote to change this fee arrangement, I'm not doing it. They're not doing it, and you won't have a claim for the money. So I just want to, that's why I just want to stop the vote and just make that clear. So maybe we had more time to talk about it. This could have been discussed earlier. But right now, the deadline is Friday, And the work has been done leading up to filing the claim, which he calls 2 sheets of paper. But I'm not filing the claim for the city. I'm not taking on the liability myself to file this claim. And if the city attorney what they want to do, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure the council knew what they were voting for or against.
Mr. Bowman, you here for a second?
Just for a second, because I got one.
Now, my
more
question
comment.
is, are you saying unequivocally that we may lose out on revenue?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Revenue that you didn't know about. Yes.
Okay.
Am I right?
Mr. Washington, I don't know when the city received the notices that the Southern District of New York issued, but I have no reason to question what you said, which is that the city attorney was not aware of it.
Okay. But we still within the time frame of getting that submitted.
Yeah,
Yes or no?
it's been one extension.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so this where we at, y'all. And today anyway. Y'all take it how you want to take it. I done heard it twice today. You qualified and you qualified. You reputable and you reputable, but you don't deserve to be here, okay? That's all I had to say.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, that's not what I said about Mr. Washington. It's a mischaracterization. It's just not true.
Mr. Chairman, I call for the vote.
And this is just to reconsider, right?
Reconsider.
Is the vote to reconsider?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we need a motion, if you're ready, on the amendment,
Amendment, yeah.
So moved.
Okay. Second.
to adopt the amendment.
Yes.
Ms. Jones. Or to.
So the amendment is not adopted. We now, number 27.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
The
Council.
original motion is up for adoption, is that right? The amendment failed, but the original motion is still prevailing, isn't
I
it?
think the only motion was on the amendment. So now you need a motion to adopt the resolution.
Yes.
Motion.
Yes.
So
Second.
Councilman Bowen makes a motion and.
Oh,
Huh?
I'll second.
And Councilwoman Fuller. Any discussion? That's what.
On resolution number 28, it authorizes the mayor's signature on a consent to assignment.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I move, but I need the mayor to explain that. I'm
I'll
sorry.
second.
Motion by Councilman Bradford, second by Vice Chair.
Sharika?
Yeah, I would have to defer to legal and public works on this one. This was a request that came from Revnar, and the assignment was contingent upon them receiving a loan agreement.
Oh.
And so this is a request that has come into the council for this purpose.
Is this the one where they've already done it and this is just to ratify what has already been done?
The last amendment was in 2014.
Renovar, I believe that's the people who have the gas out at the landfill.
Oh, okay. Okay. Any further discussion? Let's vote.
Brian is not bringing up those things.
That was the first.
Yeah, that's your vote. Passes 6-0.
Next is resolution number 20, to be postponed.
Move for
We need more
postponement.
public hearing.
I'm sorry?
29.
29.
Have a motion to postpone?
Yeah, we have a public hearing on March the 10th, so it needs to be postponed.
Second.
Second by,
Oh, did we have a motion?
did we have a motion?
Yes.
Yeah, Councilman Bradford motion, second by Vice Chair. Any discussion? Please vote postponement. And
Resolution number 31 is a to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Louisiana, and urging the Louisiana State Legislature and the Governor of Louisiana to take no action which would violate the freedoms guaranteed by either the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States or Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution of the State of Louisiana.
You have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second by,
I'd like to discuss.
okay, discussion now.
I didn't prepare for this, but it's been mulling around in my brain for a while. I grew up in a gun-owning home. My dad still takes a gun with him everywhere he goes. He's a retired police officer. I don't have a problem with the bear arms or bear arms. But this is the thing. Y'all brought this up because of what happened in the commission meeting as a way of supporting the Second Amendment. Now, maybe your constituents said that y'all needed to bring this up to show your support so people would know where you stand and will be able to see the real gun people and the Second Amendment people from everybody else. But what you're doing is an indicator of every other thing that has been brought forward in here about how we do business. Because who has a reason to talk about this other than Republicans that see it as a sticking point? You can sit here all day and talk about and show through your actions sometimes what you care about, what you don't care about, how strongly you feel about looking out for the city and doing it from your philosophical bearing. And that's fine. But when people come out and say you don't care about what's going on in your community, they're talking about stuff like this. Because the same time that you spend on stuff like this and on charter review is time that could have been spent going hard for the people in the poor parts of your community. And I resent seeing it here, and I'd like to, can I abstain from the vote? I just think it's dumb. I'm all about the Second Amendment, but it is dumb AF for us to have stuff like this sitting on our agenda, and we've got all the other stuff going on in this community that we have going on right now. I just think it's a slap in the face of everything that we say that we're trying to do. And the thing is, most people think of me as a swing vote and often like, oh, she just votes with the boys. This is the thing. You're calling me out because I'm definitely not, I'm not voting for it. I don't want to dignify this with a response. It's just a dang joke.
Well, I mean, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel sort of like what the council lady just expressed. If this is only about symbolism, I don't think, I mean, why are we doing a symbolic vote? We have no control over what the legislation does. I mean, it's just a symbolic vote, and we should not be engaging in just symbolism. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm for the Constitution. Why would I have to do a resolution saying I support the Constitution? I mean, and I think, I just think we ought to express what we are. I mean, I have no problem with the authors of the amendment, but it has no, it doesn't affect what we do here as a council. And that's why I'm gonna vote no. And I asked the council lady to vote no because she's sitting at the chamber, sitting on the podium.
That's
If
fair.
I'm counting votes, I wouldn't mind if she abstained, Councilman Bradford.
I guess you would.
That'd be fine.
No, I think the rules say that if a council member is sitting on this dais, then they are obligated to vote.
And I don't have to go powder my nose, so I guess I'll go ahead and vote no.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Actually, this was discussed way prior to the Caddo Commission's actions. In fact, it had been discussed for probably 2 to 3 weeks before that came about. If we're going to be honest and transparent up here, that and I'm so glad that people can read my mind and everybody else's minds up here. This is due to the fact that there is a move in several other states, besides Louisiana, to take the rights of people away with guns. Virginia right now has or at least they tried, and of course it didn't pass, to take the number of pieces of ammunition that you can have in your weapon. Basically all this is, and you're right, Councilman Bradford, it is symbolic. However, to several of my constituents, it's important. And research what's going on in Virginia. See what's going on in Virginia. I said this on the radio that I so much like to speak on. maybe there's some other people that like it more than me, but I do speak on there quite frequently. Gun violence affected my family about 6 years ago. I'm not going to go into it, but it's something that changed our lives forever. And I can promise you the actor that did this to my family did not have a license for that gun. This is important, even though y'all don't want to think it is. And I take offense, Councilwoman Fuller, that you call this a joke and insulting. It's no different than saggy pants to the people in my district.
Okay.
So, this is personal for me. I asked my council, I voted with you on the minimum wage. I voted with you on the saggy pants because it was important to you. This is important to me.
The irony of the saggy pants thing is I actually got
Mr.
shot
Chairman,
because of it.
point of order.
Okay, point of order.
That's what I need to say.
So I make a motion.
The motion is on
Okay,
the floor.
let's
But
go.
can I ask you a question,
Call for the
Council?
vote.
I just want to ask you a question. Can we agree that this Louisiana is a red state? And that most likely the legislature will not do anything to circumvent the gun laws of the country? Do you not agree with that?
Councilman Bradford, would you have thought that Virginia would have done this? Was Virginia 5 years ago a red state? There was thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars pumped into Virginia in order to get this legislation passed. It's a fact. Look it up. Now, it failed, but to get the legislation into the legislature. All I'm saying is, we stood up here, took an oath to protect the Constitution of the state of Louisiana, and I'll send everybody a copy of the oath, and the Constitution of the United States. All I'm asking us to do is uphold it. And if the merits of it is stupid and we're wasting our time, then trust me, I'll remember that.
Councilman Chair.
Yeah.
I'm on the board, Council, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilman Nichols.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Councilman Butcher that the Second Amendment is a fundamental right. I have to say that if we want the public to think that we are running a three-ring circus rather than doing its business, we should continue to personally insult each other on television by saying things like legislation is dumb AF. I mean, what is that? I mean, we are all elected to do the business of the city respectfully. And I said in response to some remarks earlier today that we're not sitting up here as John Nicholson and Grayson Butcher and Willie Bradford and the other members. We are representatives of tens of thousands of people each. I wish we could act that way.
Chair.
Thank you.
Yes.
Upholding the Constitution isn't dumb. Bringing legislation like this in the midst of the other things that are going on is the theatrics that I'm speaking of that I'm frustrated with. And I just wish that we could get as outraged about as we do about the Second Amendment, about the gun violence going on in our community. I'd like to see some symbolic resolutions about that. Maybe I'll draft one.
Okay, can we call for a vote?
So move.
Resolution number 32, Review Committee.
Move to withdraw, actually.
Second.
Now, a little conversation, Mr. Chairman. Yes. Have you spoken with Councilman Green? I know he's not here today, as far as how we're going to set this up.
No, I have not.
I would request that we do that in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, I'll make it happen.
Second.
Okay.
Bradford.
What are we doing?
Vote. Please vote.
Resolution 33, it's a variance from certain provisions of Chapter 34 of the Code of Ordinances relative to flood hazard prevention. Resolution 34 authorizes the mayor to execute an acceptance of act of donation between the City of Shreveport and WIVI Land Development LLC for the water and sewer main extensions and related facilities to serve Lucian Fields Estate Phase 2, Units A and B. Resolution 35 authorizes the mayor to execute an acceptance of act of donation between the city and WIVI Land Development LLC for the water and sewer main extensions and related facilities to serve Lucian Field Estates Phase 2, Unit C and D. Resolution 36 authorizes the mayor to execute an acceptance of act of donation between the City of Shreveport and Providence Development Company, LLC, for the water and sewer main extensions and related facilities to serve Providence Phase 2, Unit G. Resolution 37 authorizes the mayor to execute an acceptance of act of donation between the City of Shreveport and Providence Development, LLC, for the water and sewer main extensions and related facilities to serve Providence Phase 2, Units H-1. Resolution 38 authorizes the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Shreveport and Volunteers for Youth Justice. Resolution 39 authorizes the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Shreveport and Historic South Highlands Neighborhood Association. And Resolution 40 authorizes the acceptance of a grant from the Shreveport-Bossier Convention and Tourist Bureau.
Move for introduction.
Second.
We're now in the introduction of ordinances. Ordinance number 17 amends the City of Shreveport's 2020 Capital Projects Fund budget. Ordinance 18 amends the City of Shreveport, Louisiana 2020 Special Revenue Fund budget. Ordinance 20 will revise, amend, and enact certain sections of Chapter 22 and 30 of the City of Shreveport Code of Ordinances relative to fire prevention and protection fees and otherwise provides with respect thereto. Resolution number 19 amends the 2020 General Fund budget. Ordinance 21 is a zoning matter case number 19-470-C. It amends the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport's Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the east side of Audrey Lane, approximately 2,665 feet north of Cooper Road, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from R17 Single Family Residential District to R2 Multifamily Residential District. Ordinance number 22 is a zoning matter case number 19-479-C. It amends the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport's Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the south side of Financial Plaza, approximately 450 feet west of Raspberry Lane, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, C-1 Neighborhood Commercial District to C-UC Urban Corridor Commercial District.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask the council to endure me for a minute. I would like for two developers with the Syrium group to come forward. As you've heard from some previous citizens in regards to this development on the Cooper Road MLK community, I want you to get a full scope of what this project is, and they are prepared to do that. So I'm going to ask Mr. Brando and Mr. Tony Williams to come forward. And Mr. Williams is a native of the Cooper Road, and he can expound upon his resume. He's a very successful businessman who has partnered with Satirium Group to bring this project back to his hometown and his home neighborhood. Mr. Williams, please express yourself.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. And I've been getting beat up ever since I got down in the city.
No, you're in friendly climate now.
As long as you left your gun in the car, I guess.
Well, I don't have one, but my uncle, he might have his. He pulled up on me. I told him I was at the city council meeting, so if I was, not telling the truth, he probably would have caught me this time. But I'm from Shreveport. I was born and raised here, born and raised on the Cooper Road. Went down to Southern University in Baton Rouge, left there, got commissioned in the military, spent 22 years, retired as a lieutenant colonel. I own my own business since 2006. Have about 350 employees all over the world, Pakistan, Jordan, Chile, Oman, Saudi Arabia. And I just wanted to come back home and make a difference. That's the only reason I came back. It's you probably hear it all the time. People leave, they go away, and they never come back. Or people go away, they make a lot of money, but they never bring it back to the city. You probably know a lot of people that went away, made a lot of money, successful, but they didn't come back home. So basically the term "put your money where your mouth is," that's what I'm doing. You know, we came back to help develop in the city of Shreveport.
Let me interrupt you. Tell them what you did for Southern University of Shreveport.
Well, we started the Williams Center, named after me and my wife, where we brought $50,000 of our own hard-earned money to provide scholarships for young at-risk males to go to college for free. To date, we've sent 10 through to college where they haven't paid a penny, because I was an at-risk kid. Although I had a great family, but growing up on the Cooper Road, you know, it's not easy. So I've already put money back into the city. So when I came and I mentioned it to a couple of people in the city, the mayor, I didn't ask for anything. We didn't come saying, hey, we need money. We didn't come saying, hey, give us land, give us building. Everything that we've done, we've went and acquired it. We brought a team of investors together, along with our own money, to do these projects. We're going to do it regardless. You know, whether it's, you know, here or somewhere else, we just want to make a difference. So I won't spend any more time. I'll let Bardo come up and just kind of give you a briefing, but I would just ask you to, you know, as we look at making a difference in the city, we just want to do that. We don't have no agenda at all.
Projectors work.
Bardo?
This is Mr. Bardo Brantley, who's also with the. Yes,
projector?
yes. Just put your put them on there and they should come up.
Okay.
While Mr. Brantley is preparing his presentation, let me say that the Metropolitan Planning Commission at their last meeting unanimously approved the application for this project. Unanimously approved the application for this project. Please.
Thank you. Mayor, councilwomen, I know we've had a long day today, so I'm gonna really try to get through this as quickly as I can. But the reason I put this map here, because I think we just didn't get an opportunity, of course last night, to really convey exactly what we're doing. And, you know, I'll take responsibility, we'll take responsibility when, you know, in the situation that we want to make sure people understand of what we're trying to convey, to bring to this area. And the reason I put the map here, we've circled 4 places: Memphis, Shreveport, Phoenix, Utah. This project is a tandem project, and I've mentioned this before because what we're doing is that we're bringing manufacturing to the city of Shreveport. There's 4 plants that are scheduled to be buildings acquired at the same time through private equity opportunity zone. The reason that the multifamily projects are important is that they are the beginning feeders for the plants that are being put into the 4 cities. We came to Shreveport first. We put this project together almost 8 or 9 months ago. Everything we do is opportunity zone. So we're in the opportunity zones with our manufacturing, we're in the opportunity zone with the multifamily. Tony Williams is passionate about this area. He says, take a look at this area. I think this will be perfect to start off of one of the 4 plants. So to give you a little understanding, this building is the Shreveport plant. It's 80,000 square feet. That's the $1 million contract to buy the building here in Shreveport. It's put 60 people to work immediately. We're trying to have this open by the end of the 4th quarter of this year. That's the plant in Memphis, where I'm on the plane tomorrow morning to acquire that plant. Now, I want to put that to the side. Let's talk about the multifamily. Feasibility study that we did for this area. The main thing out of this entire book, which you all know, it's needed. Quality, affordable housing. Not some of the things we've seen before, but quality, affordable housing. This project is a gated community, okay? 166 units, has swimming pool, splash pool, dog walks, walking trails, full-size pools, computer labs, exercise gyms. We have the opportunity to provide something in an area that's never seen before. And we're doing this not just in the city, in Memphis and some of the other areas that have been underserved. And the only reason that this is able to happen now is because we're utilizing the opportunity zone. Otherwise, it couldn't be financed, because you could not put the structure together based on the rents that people can afford to pay and the amount of the mortgages that are due for market rate apartments. These apartments are market rate apartments. They could sit in any place in the city of Shreveport, no problem. No problem. Any place in this city, those units can sit. Now, what we did structural-wise, and I'll show you this as well. I want you to. It's a prototype of, and it's kind of hard to see, of the sales center. These are lobbies, exercise room, computer rooms. That's entrances. Those are computers. And the inside of the units are not laminates. The counters are all stones, which is, you don't see anything like that in this particular market. But we're back to that these are market rate apartments. Now, the element that we're bringing to this concept that I think is the first the nation has seen is that we have an element of childcare. And when I say childcare, I mean child tutoring. We have a community center inside of the gated community that at 3:30, when the buses drop the children off, they go into after-school tutoring programs. These tutoring programs are based through our nonprofit, because there's a nonprofit element in everything we do as well. It gives us an opportunity to put together after-school programs. We have these after-school programs start from kindergarten all the way up to high school. So we have tutorials that work for ACT prep. We also have resume training inside of the community centers as well, GED training. This is a step-up project. That's what this is about. This is not just about where you are, it's where you're going to get in this project. Our funding is based on, and I've heard a lot of people say, well, it's subsidized through HUD. That's not what's happening here. These are Raymond James bonds, and what the government does for us is that they rate the bonds AAA. So they're not junk bonds, they're AAA rated bonds through HUD. But we don't get finance. There's no cash money subsidizing our projects. They are rating the bonds AAA, therefore we can use them in the project along with the tax credit that makes the other equity portion of the $22 million. Rents on this project for one bedrooms, when you look at the The, that might come up now. There we go. You might not be able to see that, but the average, so I can see it. Through our feasibility studies, the average rents here in the Shreveport market rate area for one bedroom, $982. Okay? That's an average. Some of the ones that we looked at that were in that huge feasibility study that we did go all the way up to 1,100. These are market. That's not workforce numbers. Workforce numbers are our numbers that have that same quality of the one bedroom. We're doing it at $575, 40% lower than the average market rents in the city. Now, here's the qualifying. It's based on the income level. $26,000 is the maximum amount for one bedroom that you can make for a yearly income. Now, you'll still have to apply. You'll still have to, all of our multifamilies are done by Capstone, which is one of the largest management companies in the nation. You'll still need to apply for that apartment. You'll have to show their documentations that show this is your income level. But at $26,000 for one bedroom, maximum level for a two bedroom is $32,000. Now, I don't know what entry levels here for police officers or nurses or whatever those numbers are, but if you're within that, you have the exact same apartment complex unit in quality, safety, and desirability as a market rent apartment. And then when you get to the three bedroom, one bedroom is $578, two bedroom is $687, three bedrooms is $776. And it's the maximum on the three bedroom income is $37,200. That's your maximum that you can stay for this particular unit. We talked earlier about some of the reasons why, and thank you, Chairman, for mentioning that. We didn't want to bring this to you until we had loan commitments. That's Raymond James. $16,400,000 bond commitment, Excalibur, to fund the program. Now, where we are at this point, applications are in for HUD. Private equity fund set up, ready for investors to put their money into the fund, for the money to be transferred from that fund going into the purchases we have in Opportunity Zone, which the first purchase is to buy the plant. Novogradac, heard those names. Novogradac is doing the model, which is the financial model for every project we have. Again, that's another look at the project itself. I wanted to show you the site plan. Now, we've given the project a lot of thought, not just from the multifamily aspect, but there was 128 acres, I think, was brought to the board almost a couple of months ago about an annexation in the Cooper Road area. Well, that's been a part of our project and our overall master plan. This project here, that was, the application was put in for the annexation of 120 acres in that area to come into the city. Well, what we'd like to do and what we had planned to do, and there was a lot of conversation last night about single family. In the master plan, this is a single family area because we're able to create its own value. It's not scattered lots. You're not going to come in and scattered lots and put $100,000 houses on $200,000 houses on scattered lots. That model doesn't work. So you're going to have to come in, create an area that you can stabilize your appreciation, you can stabilize your neighborhood, you can put deed restrictions on the lots, and you create your value. So what we tried to say last night is that you have to start somewhere. And doing nothing is not the answer. So all we're saying is, I believe that this project, it goes tandem with the manufacturing. Because again, as I said before, we're moving forward on the manufacturing. It creates 60 jobs immediately, up to 300. This is the first project that would feed that line and create that workforce. Now, as Mr. Williams said earlier, everything we've tried to do is hopefully make a positive influence. And from the child care element to the market rate apartments done at affordable prices that working class, workforce, people can afford it and have something this nice. This is the plat for the multifamily. Now, there's an out parcel here. This out parcel from our development model would be given to the city, deeded to the city for a police substation that we would incur the cost for and build it for you. Jobs, plant, affordable housing, police substation, single-family housing, commercial. It's all based on rooftops, but you got to start somewhere. And you have to seed the area. The area needed a lot of work, and it needs someone to come in and truly have a vision and a plan that we could possibly put together. But tomorrow, I'm on a plane to Memphis. What we didn't want to do is we want everybody to want us to be here. If you don't want us here, I understand that. And I'll put all my stuff away, we'll pack up and we'll head on to Memphis or where we go. But I hope you consider it, because it's a great, great project. And it encompasses everything. But if you don't want us here, we understand that. And we respect the community. And if the community, and they're passionate, they were passionate last night, I felt it. And if it feels, and after you've heard everything and asked all your questions, it's not the right time for us, Shreveport's not the place for you guys right now, we understand. That's my piece.
Mr. Bradley, let me say this. I want to apologize.
Exactly. No apology necessary.
No, I led you into. I feel like I led you into. I didn't forewarn you. I did not expect what happened last night to happen to that degree. I've been faced with opposition before. But the hostility that was levied against you, Mr. Williams, last night was uncalled for. And I take some responsibility in not controlling that in a way that I thought I should. But I wanted them to vent. And you heard a lot of clatter, but you only heard it from about 4 people. And the responses I got this morning through email, text messages, is that what occurred last night is not the reflection of the majority of those residents. And that they want to know where they can apply already. Now, I'm just going to say this to let you know, I represented that area for 4.5 years now, but I've worked in that area for over 25 years. In 1995, and I think I showed you the clinic and the education facilities that I manage. We was faced with the same opposition. We don't need that. We don't want that. Y'all trying to run David Raines out of business. Y'all, and 25 years later, those same people are patient and utilize that facility. We have given over $20 million in health care to the residents of that community. I asked you 3 questions, I think I asked you when you approached me about this 6 months ago. I said, is there a need? What did you say?
Yes.
You done your study.
Yes.
The feasibility said there's a need for this project. I asked you, was that area feasible for that project? You said it's an opportunity zone. And I said, will it increase the quality of life? Would it better the quality of life for those in that area? And you showed me a model of that project. Yes. And the irony is, and I didn't know you guys coming to town, but I wanted my colleagues to see some aspects of that area. So I took them on a bus ride of that area. Just as a reference, I'm not going to comment on it, but I wanted them to see and ask them when the time came, do you see a need for better housing up here, up on the Cooper Road? And I said earlier, the only regret that I have is that I keep getting resistance and opposition to what we can do to help people, and I find it very difficult for me. I got a lot of traits, I got a lot of abilities, but one ability I don't have is to continue to fight people to help them. But we have to. I said, a clinic. There's some physical apparatus that makes up a community. You know, a grocery store. You know, somewhere to eat. We can't get a hot meal. There's not a fast food restaurant. I mean, there's over 12,000 African Americans, and there's a myth that we like fried chicken and barbecue, and we can't even get fried chicken and barbecue. And I'm saying, I understand rooftops. If we're going to get more economic development up there, which again, a community has been disinvested in, and largely because a lot of people say, I don't want this. But I'm gonna ask you, and Mr. Williams, don't be discouraged. That's right. Okay. You have done all your due diligence to make this a possibility. And I want to see you go forward with it. And I'm gonna support you all the way.
We appreciate it.
And I told the committee, the community, I keep telling the community, if you remember last night, you know, they called me everything but a child of God. We elected you to do this, you elected. I said, yeah. But at the same time, you elected me to make your lives better. And I'm gonna do everything I can to help do that. And I need you to stay committed to this cause. There are more people that are with us than those that are against us. And I guarantee you, the waiting list is going to be tremendous. Sure. I got a call, I don't know if you got a call, from somebody who said that, can you guys take some of our housing residents, because we got a waiting list. Are you familiar with that? Mm-hmm. So the need is there, and your scale of medium household is perfect for that community.
I think so.
If you start off building $200,000 or $300,000 homes up there, and you can't go to the pharmacy and get your medicine, or you can't go to the grocery store and get groceries, I'm wondering how many people will actually move up there. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Mr. Williams, for looking out for your hometown, looking out for your home community. And I know you left there with a very heavy heart and saying, and you told them, if y'all don't want this, you're not hurting me. Okay, I got communities that does want this, but I'm asking you. You have done so much.
Thank you.
Work. I think this body, it's up for introduction today. I'm gonna trust that this body will give you the red light, the green light to move forward, just like the MPC did. They were skeptical, but once you made your presentation and you showed the reality of your work, that you have secured funding before you even came to the city. I think you engaged Ms. Moore, Bonnie Moore. I think you engaged the mayor. You engaged myself. You attempted to engage your state representative of that area, the parish commissioner of that area. And I'm just saying, you have done your due diligence.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm gonna beg this council, in spite of what we may face, I will be responsible and be held accountable for whatever I initiate for that community. And I will receive it, whatever it may come, but I want you to stay committed and work with me, work with that community, and let's help bring a better quality of living for those residents. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Don't walk off yet.
Mayor Perkins, you want to talk first? I can yield.
I'll yield. It's cool.
Yeah. I was just going to point out a bit of a timeline here. So I greatly admire Tony Williams for his service to the country and his success as a business person and his contributions to his hometown, even though he's been extremely successful outside, not forgetting about Shreveport, not forgetting about his neighborhood. And we've known each other for a while, but I remember attending the Southern event last year when he contributed $50,000 of his own dollars to a program at Southern to help young people out. And that spoke a ton about his character. But when he approached us about this particular development deal, I was extremely excited about it. And the reason why I was excited about it is because we get a lot of developers that approach the city often, and we have to vet them. And a lot of times it doesn't work out, and sometimes it does work out. But this was the first time that somebody approached us about the MLK area. This is the first time. And in addition to that, at that time, the bond was still up, so I'm looking at the contributions that could theoretically be made to the MLK area at that time, and it totaled about $60 million being put into MLK area. Clearly we know what happened with the bond, and I made comments on bond night. Hey, this is the government that we have to respect democracy. Sometimes it cuts with us, sometimes it cuts against us. But now that $22 million of development is up for question as well. And I hear that I actually spoke to several members of the MLK, several citizens from the MLK area last night about the meeting. I spoke to Councilman Bradford And I understand the reservations and, about timeline and the type of housing, and I understand it. I really do. Nobody purports this project to be perfect, but I can tell you that that's his neighborhood. He still acts like he lives in that neighborhood. He has ownership to that neighborhood. He could be out making a lot of money, not focusing on MLK. So he is working in good faith. He is going to continue to listen to the members of that neighborhood as this project rolls out. But we have to take steps forward, right? Growth and progress can be a very painful, slow thing at times. And a lot of people would rather just hunker down in the position that they're in rather than experience that. And I would say we can't afford that. We just can't afford that as a city. So, this project has my support. Again, I think that if we set a track record in the MLK area, in the Cooper Road area, that, hey, developers can come in here and be successful, guess what? We'll attract other developers. And the things that you want, the ideal circumstances, can come down the road. But right now, we're not starting with much. And this is an opportunity for us to take that step in the right direction. So I just wanted to put my comments on the record for it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I do have a couple of questions for you. Because I've had a few people from the area that just have contacted me, and they made comments about how tense it was last night. And when you hear a lot of verbal anti-Matt, you want to make sure that I want to stand by my vote, so I want to make sure I have an understanding of what's going on. The factory space that y'all have, that y'all are going to be doing, you're saying that you're going to have a factory in the area fairly close to where the housing is going to be.
No.
What's the manufacturing piece of this?
The manufacturing piece is in the industrial
West
park.
Shreveport opportunities.
Yeah, it's in your industrial.
How many
park.
jobs?
It starts off with 60.
So you're going to 60 jobs created.
60 jobs. And let me, I want to really preface this. This manufacturing type, we were doing it. I've been doing that for
Since
years.
2009.
And I did it in 2007, 8, 9, 10. I did it all the way up to 2010 until we ran into the equity market. And it went on like everything else. There were no lenders.
It's still a viable material.
There's nothing you could do. So, but the opportunity has come back now to relaunch this plant. So that's why I'm relaunching it. And again, the opportunity is that the plant comes in town. It can scale up to 300 jobs. But now, I like Shreveport. First of all, it has a port. We're doing as much work all the way down to Baton Rouge, the Gulf Coast. So our manufacturing facility is wall panels. We pre-panelize the walls of usually it's a redundant building, hotels and things of such, but this is exploding now in the construction business, and we're on the cutting edge. So the two parts of this is the manufacturing and our first local development of 160 units, which will go through the plant, and then we'll private label all of the other goods.
So you're making your materials, and then you're putting your materials here, and that's kind of a pilot. At the same time, you'll be shipping your materials from here.
All over the nation.
Okay, got that part. How flexible are you on your site plan for your 160 units?
We're in the conceptual point at this point. Hard constructions haven't started at this point, so there's some flexibility in that.
Are you familiar with studies about housing that state that low-income housing is more effective and more positive when it's mixed-income housing?
Well,
that you don't want to have high concentrations of low-income housing because people never see the opportunities to
I guess the part that it's affordable housing and workforce housing because it's not subsidized housing. So
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just asking.
No.
If those policies come into play with what you're
not what I don't think that comes into play in this facility at all.
You feel like it's mixed, but so workforce and affordable.
Well, workforce.
Do you consider that mixed income?
No, because what I consider is a reduction of the market rate rent. It's a market rate apartment that would be in this area, picked up from this area, just happens to be geographically sitting in this area, but there is no difference in this between the one here. The only difference is that $26,000 is the maximum amount you can make
To live in
annually.
this, to live in the one bedroom.
To live in a one bedroom.
To be a single person in a one bedroom.
Mhm.
Okay, it's not a pejorative term, mixed income. It's not a negative term.
Okay.
What I'm saying is you're not expecting to have a high concentration of just people making $26,000 living in all 160 units. You're going to have a mix of people making different salaries living in those
Sure, because that's the maximum that the program would allow you to make for that one bedroom, and then the two bedroom is $32,000 is the maximum, and then $37,000 for that.
So the next thing, as far as the site plan, in our master plan, we're saying that we want to see more walkability. We want to see people have an easier time of mobility without having a car. Are you amenable to working on your site plan to where it can make, to accommodate that?
Well, I guess the part I'm saying for the phase two, it wouldn't be, it's not in that 15 acres, because that 15 acres is pretty built out,
Okay.
is where we are, because we've got the pools, the splash pools. The community center is a huge focus, because this is where the child tutoring takes place. This is where we've invested all of the computer rooms and the educational rooms that the kids are having after school. That's part of the nonprofit that we're bringing to the 160.
Are you open to partnering with local existing nonprofits that have a lay of the land?
We're plan to profit with locals.
You expect that you
Yes,
will
that's where the gut focus of the people that are manning these tutoring facilities will be local.
But some of them already have, like, I'm talking, there are people that we know that are in the community that are
Sure.
directors of their own programs
Yes.
already. If they're at the table, it's a little bit easier of a sell to
They-
know that you've got the community buy-in.
They will be at the, because our part is nonprofit, but we certainly partner with the local nonprofits for the tutoring piece.
Yeah, we want to make sure now, I know it's a lot of people that's in the local community, they may have their own business, but we're not just going to bring anybody in to do tutoring if they're not qualified to do it.
Right, well, but I'm just saying that they're
okay.
qualified people doing
Right.
some really good
Once they
things. I want to make
qualify,
sure that
yes.
we're not reinventing a wheel. If we've got
Right.
an effective wheel, we're celebrating that wheel we've already got.
Yes.
Over the next 2 weeks, can I ask you to do something for me? When do y'all plan on coming back here?
I'm never coming back.
How am I looking at you right now?
You weren't there last night, so. You weren't there last night,
So since I'm being nice and sweet right now, you're still holding out about that from yesterday.
No, I'm good. I'm just joking with you.
I'm just hoping that over the next 2 weeks, you're able to figure out a way to get some buy-in in smaller groups where it's maybe a little less antagonistic, so that when we do see this again in 2 weeks, the phone calls, the emails, the people that come in and speak are not vitriolic about it. If we're leaning toward accepting it.
I'm not sure how much we can get buy-in, because what we heard was that we want single-family housing.
People want pathways to home ownership. That's not necessarily that it has to be immediately single-family housing. But if there's a way to work toward pathways to home ownership, and you start incrementally with people renting in a safe, clean environment that looks just like the market rate over on Fern Avenue, then we can work with that.
Well,
But
let's see if-
historically, and you know this because you grew up there, there's a lot of pride in ownership that already exists, but a generation that had that ownership and the one that's here now has been left behind, and they're looking for a way to catch up. If people know that you hear that and you feel that, that might get you what you need. And I don't think you'll be able to give a report back that you have a new white paper on how to get there in 2 weeks. I just want to see, because the thing is, even with that, you get your zoning, but you still got to do your site plan review and approval. You still have other steps in between this and that. You can get some of those other pieces in place. Because my colleague is saying that the vocal that we heard was a vocal minority, and that there are other people that are picking up what you're putting down. And if that's really the case, then you might be able to change some other hearts and minds. over the next 2 weeks.
So we gotta wait 2 weeks?
We don't vote on this today.
Oh, we don't?
You're giving us a presentation so that we can switch this around in our brains over the next 2 weeks.
okay.
Unless I'm looking at the agenda wrong.
That's great.
I'm right. I like being right. But yeah, we don't vote on this today. Y'all are giving us an opportunity to understand what's going on so we can vote in 2 weeks. And I think that's a good thing. Especially after yesterday was so stormy for you. But I have a better understanding of what you're saying, but I think that people, because this is not my district, but I think that they deserve an opportunity to have a better understanding too. So they're not just coming at you like,
Yeah, I don't think last night we got an opportunity to share pretty much anything. And I'm
All
not
we
sure-
heard was we ain't for sale.
Yeah.
well, I'll tell you, I do
And
in
I'm
my,
not- and I'm not sure we're gonna get a chance to share anything over the next
well,
2 weeks
I think that
either, but I understand exactly what you're saying.
a lot of times just starting from, if I may, that first zoning meeting with the MPC, if people haven't heard from you before you walk in there and they see you for the first time with your presentation, it makes it that much harder. You're starting from behind because they didn't know. And maybe they saw 300-foot radius of where we live, and because this is a part that's been part of this annexation, that's even fewer people that are gonna know about it, it gives people, and they hear affordable housing. Affordable housing is a dog whistle for you're putting the project behind my house. So that means that you're literally coming from behind to be transparent and explain to people what you're really doing.
Yeah.
And they may have their representative, but they're gonna talk to whoever, they're gonna lobby everybody.
I believe you. With Facebook and all the friends, I have friends from first grade.
How dare you come, I thought you were one of us, now you're bringing
Well,
projects to our
well,
back.
no, well, you know, they give me the same thing, is that, okay, what is it? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna do the same thing they did at David Raines? Those people rented for 10 years, and they still gotta go back and qualify for home ownership. I mean, so you get all the different things. I mean, this is not that.
We've seen some very bad examples, and they've been on repeat. And the frustration you heard yesterday was that the way you came into them was indicative because they didn't know about you before you came in for your zoning hearing at the MPC. So I think that you have a chance.
It was on purpose.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. It was on purpose for us to get the funding and get everything in place.
Yeah. Well-
Because if I would've came to you a year ago.
Oh, no,
and
I'm not
started
saying
voicing-
that.
Well, let me finish.
I'm saying like a week before your meeting. Like once your funding and everything was in place, if you could have sat down with them within a week of your
Sit down
meeting.
with who?
The people in the community. Didn't the little lady, Miss Betsy, that sits over here, did she not say, did you talk to the community? She asked that of everybody that comes into those meetings.
Yeah, I got it. I mean.
Yeah, she did.
I talked to the right people, but I'm saying if I would've came to you all or anybody and said, hey, we're gonna do this big project, and we're gonna do all these things for you, and I had no funding, but now I want the city to give me this money, you was like, you just like the rest of them, get out of here.
That's not what I'm saying.
I know you're not saying that, but I'm just saying, if we would've came
Sure.
and expressed what supposedly
Yeah.
the community wanted us to do.
And I would have said no,
that's
and y'all
what
be
they
fighting a
would've said.
recall on me right now. But what I'm saying is, when you knew that you were scheduled to come in for your hearing, which was on the first Wednesday of the month, if the Thursday before that you'd sat down with some people and talked to them, we're coming for rezoning, or for rezoning of this property, this is the project, we wanna let you know what's going on so that you know that we're not trying to pull anything on you, this is what we're trying to do, and we hope that you're okay with it, let us know if you have any questions. That's all they want.
No, let me, Council Lady, let me respond.
Okay.
In all due respect, the gentleman is correct. They came to me 6 months ago with this idea. And I gave them letters of support for them to take to the financial institutions to say that the councilman of this district is in support of this. You then, for the next 6 months, went out, and I think the mayor gave you one as well. Did you, Mayor? And you said that let's do this. Let's put the horse before the cart. You called me and said, okay, we have submitted our application to the MPC. The MPC then put their notifications of rezoning throughout that area within the 300 proximity of that property. Everybody who was affected by that was notified and had opportunity to come to the MPC meeting. Now, after that, again, the council member of that district is working with this developer and these developers. And I told them after the MPC meeting that I would, at the proper time, have them to come back to town to address the community. I didn't have to do that.
This is why there's the impasse.
No, my point is that I understand the community. I've been a part of that community. I have stake in that community. And I'm saying I got elected twice from that community by 10+ points. So I'm saying, and I said to you, that those who was in opposition, who's always in opposition, are not my supporters. And that I'm saying that my responses that I've gotten this morning, most of them are apologetic to me because of the disrespect that I received for not making them aware earlier. And we said all along that one person said, the problem we have is that we've been told things and it hadn't happened for too long, and we don't trust that y'all gonna do what y'all say you're gonna do. It was only when you revealed the financial commitment that we got what you haven't been getting. That they sort of, but there was 3 people basically that did all the hollering and yelling. Okay, and I'm saying, and I promise you, the majority of the residents of that area wants the project. They're eager for the project because they feel, like I feel, that as we start reinvesting in that community, that we can give them the ability to reinvest in themselves. And I say again, the market will determine if this is a good project or not. You is taking a risk, and I'm saying, and you said, if y'all want single family dwellings, go find a developer and do it. And I said, I work with them. But it was akin to somebody going to what's that? You get chicken strips. Crane? Raising Cane, asking for a chicken sandwich. I mean, a fish sandwich. And we want a fish sandwich. And listen, we don't do fish sandwiches. We do apartments. We do chicken strips. And you kept hammering that home, but they kept saying, we want a fish sandwich. And I'm saying, as a councilman, I want to ask my councilman to refer any. They have the right to do whatever they do, but I'm asking them to support me on this development, and I will take any heat. I will be responsible, but I think you deserve this chance, Mr. Williams, Mr. Brantley, to allow your vision and the contribution that you want to make back to your community. I want to see it happen.
And Ms. Fuller, we'll find those people that we should talk to. I'm sure Mr. Bradford can help us find out who they are, and we'll.
I believe in you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you understand.
I got you.
I appreciate you for that.
Mayor, are you on the board?
Oh, sorry, I took it off. It should have came off. I don't have anything.
Okay.
Any questions?
I believe you covered it pretty much all.
You have to bring us
It's my
barbecue
second-
next time too.
I believe I got it down. I memorized last night today. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I guess, so
You still
we're,
have barbecue, right?
we're clear. Yeah, we have barbecue restaurants as well.
I'll have to get my friend Jada, she's an influencer here, to come up and give y'all a review.
Okay, please do. She knows the barbecue restaurants.
I'm a librarian by trade.
The date, so we'll know, we have investor meetings, we're going back, and again, it's tandem. So I'm going to call the agent tomorrow morning. I'm going to put the plant on hold because we're not going to move, we can't move anything without the feeder project for the plant. So I'll call him tomorrow. Remember, we need to know, we need to understand. I've got in these rooms, I've sold these projects, I've told them Shreveport wants us. Now I've got to go back and tell them there's a hold here.
It's
So
not a
that,
hold.
well, no, well, I have to walk in those meetings because I have to make those sales. And I've been pumping Shreveport like you could not imagine. Now I've got to go back in the morning, pick up the phone and say, hold on one second. Don't put the $50 million in the account yet. We need to think about the strategy again. That's
got-
depressed,
it's
that
just- it's
hurts,
2 weeks.
but that's something we have to do.
No,
We have to
came
do
with the
that.
intent that
You
we
know?
would, when we left here, we would know what we was doing.
Let me say this,
But-
I'm leaning toward a yes, but when people are coming to me and
I-
they're saying, I don't know, I need to be able to tell them why I'm a
But
yes.
you understand Wall Street and you understand finance and you know how things work. You all know how things work. So we go back tomorrow morning, we have to make some tough phone calls. That's just the
You
reality
can tell
of it.
them that Councilwoman Fuller's in, she just wanted a
Well,
better understanding. so
well,
she
I
can
may need
explain
Councilwoman
to
Fuller
constituents.
to make a phone call and say you're in.
Let the mayor do it.
Anyway, so we're just, let everybody know where we are.
Councilman Butcher, you're on the board.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Brantley?
Yes, sir.
I want to tell you thank you for coming. I encourage, I went and took a tour with Councilman Bradford of his district.
Thank you.
I am very encouraged by people that are wanting to put their own money into a development. It's hard for me as a legislator to sit up here and figure that unimproved land with no tax dollars coming in is better than improved land with tax dollars coming in.
And we have no tax abatements.
Right,
So we
right,
pay
I
taxes.
understand that.
So we're paying taxes.
And you know, several areas in my district would love to have this. We have some opportunity zones down off of Line Avenue, if y'all want to come look around. I'm just saying, I think that this is a good thing, and you know, I'm sorry that some of the residents are upset out there, but you know, I am very encouraged anytime we see shovels moving with a businessman's own money, and you put this package together, and I support it. So,
Thank you. Any more questions? Or?
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, again.
Thank you.
And we'll be in touch, okay?
Mr. Thompson?
Mr. Chairman, we need a motion and a second on to introduce the resolution, the
Move for
ordinance.
introduction of.
second.
We're now, the ordinance is on second reading and final passage. The first is ordinance number 10. It amends the 2020 Grant Special Revenue Fund budget. There are two amendments. Mr. Chairman, when we looked at the amendments at this ordinance, we realized that the original Grant Special Revenue Fund budget had some issues, and so it was necessary to correct that first before we could move forward with this. So amendment number 1 corrects the problems that were in the original Grant Special Revenue Fund budget that was adopted in December. So a motion to adopt amendment number 1 would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
By Councilwoman Fuller, Vice Chair, and Councilman Bradford. Any discussion? Let's vote, please.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that's, the vote is positive.
Yeah, that's it.
Amendment number 2 then, did you have a question? Amendment number 2 then carries out the original intent of ordinance number 10.
I have a motion.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Nixon. Any discussion? Please vote. And that.
Ordinance number is chapter 78, article 4, streets, sidewalks, and other public places.
So move.
I'm sorry. On number 10, we need an ordinance to adopt the
As amended.
ordinance as amended.
So move for adoption as amended. Those.
Second.
I'm sorry, I thought you said amended.
Second.
Second.
Councilman Bowden. Any discussion? Please vote. And
So now we're on ordinance number 11, which revises Chapter 78, Article 4, other public places. I believe that there was a meeting yesterday of the Infrastructure Committee, and the chairman was going to move that this be postponed.
Oh, yeah, motion to postpone.
second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion to
Under ordinance number 12, it adds 26-25 of Chapter 26, Finance, Article 1, in the General of the City of Shreveport Code of Ordinances relative to a chief financial officer and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
motion.
Move to postpone.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Councilman Butcher, second. Any discussion? Please vote.
Just a question. What was our action regarding confirming in that position? Did we not do
We
it?
postponed it.
Postpone it? Okay. All right.
We got
See,
one.
we've been here too long, huh? I get sleepy.
That passes 5-1.
We're now into ordinance number 13, it amends the fee schedule for the city's Unified Development Code relative to fees for the neighborhood participation plan, as well as wireless telecommunications, and otherwise provides with respect thereto.
So move for
Second.
adoption.
Me. Second.
Butcher's, Councilman Butcher's second on that, Councilman Bradford. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Number 14 amends the Code of Ordinance for the city by adding Division 11 of Article 5 of Chapter 26 relative to the creation and establishment of a Shreveport City
So moved.
Prosecutors Pretrial Diversion Program.
Second by Councilwoman Fuller.
Special Revenue Fund.
Any discussion? Please vote. Motion.
15 adopts a 2020 program Special Revenue Fund. This is sort of a companion to number 14,
Yeah.
and number
So moved.
16 will be a companion.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Fuller.
Oh, I'm
Any-
sorry, there's one amendment to
Oh.
ordinance. This amendment accounts for the revenue being established in the Division Program Special Revenue Fund. This was just a technical amendment.
So moved on the amendment.
Second. Yes. Let's vote.
So
Need
moved
a
on
motion on
as
the
So
ordinance
moved.
as a,
Okay. I move on the amendment.
We're just Tom and Jerry over here.
What?
Any discussion? Please vote.
You'd think having snacks would have helped with all this.
I was fixing to ask, you'll need a cookie.
And motion carries.
ordinance number 16 amends the fund budget. This is a companion to 15.
So moved.
There is one amendment. Again, this is a technical amendment.
Moved. Now who's the
Move.
second?
We move as
Move,
amended.
move as amended.
Okay, and I have a second. Councilman Bradford, second. Any discussion? Please vote. And
Amended.
Second.
by Councilman Butcher, moved by Councilman Bradford. Any discussion? Please vote.
Who are you waiting on? Very good.
And
Items on the regular agenda, I'm not aware of any agenda to be removed? If not, there are no appeals. We're now to reports from officers, boards, and committees.
Anybody have a report?
Mr. Chairman, there was discussion of having an Audit and Finance Committee meeting later this week. After consulting with Ms. Stewart, we decided that we would delay that meeting until March, and I will advise the council of the date of that meeting in our next administrative conference.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Thompson, clerk's report?
We have no report, Mr. Chairman.
Mayor Perkins, do you have any additional comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We have Adriel McLean in the audience. He missed comments earlier. He's a pastor in the area and a local leader. Actually, he gave a prayer last year at Congress, so he represented the city well. But I wanted to give him an opportunity to speak since he came all the way out.
Thank you. Protocol established. I came late because I had car trouble getting here for the comments. I want to say two things, actually three things if I may. First of all, the Louisiana Baptist State Convention will be here in July. We'd like a letter from y'all of our book. Second thing is, I want to speak as a preacher. Now, Scripture says not only are pastors shepherds, but those who govern us, you all are shepherds as well. And the book speaks of not scattering the flock over which y'all give our guidance as our leaders. So I would hope that what I saw today be more loving and compassionate. The third reason I'm here is to support Chief Whitehorn. I will not be able to be here in 2 weeks. I have another appointment in Baton Rouge. But I've known him for at least 10 or 15 years. I think he's well qualified for the position. May I ask this question? If I hear, and maybe I'm wrong, that funds in the city are tight, why would you spend the money on a search project to find somebody in your own backyard that I think is well qualified? Now, all of us know that when you hired by Uncle Sam, the United States government and the state, they do a serious background check all the way back to probably when you had your first drink. And I understand Chief drinks, I don't know if he does or not, but that's irrelevant. I'm pointing out is, I personally as a citizen, if there's a man qualified, why go through a national search when he has lived here and worked with us and for us? And I would hope that y'all give him the utmost consideration and confirm what the mayor has asked. And God bless you all. Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any other business? If not, this meeting is adjourned.